respected Chairman CA Akash Bhatia sir, respected Secretary CA Ankit Maheshwari sir, and CA Lokesh Kasar sir, who is giving selfless services to our Jaipur branch of ICI and organizing such programs for all of us. Today's topic is VCM on trust registrations, returns and audits. And I'm very glad to inform all of you that our speakers are CA Shailesh Mantri sir and CA Anoop Bhatia sir, who is the well-known faculty of direct taxes at Jaipur and who has done a specialization in income tax, including tax and financial planning, insolvency professionals, also providing services in the fields of accounts and audits. He has worked as State Head Accounts SDFC Limited, Jaipur for 7 years and working as a practicing chartered accountant since 2011. Also working as a faculty for direct taxes subject at CA final level of ICI for 18 years. Written a book titled Summary Book on Direct Taxes, 7 editions published by till date, and also active on social media, YouTube channel for providing awareness on the income tax matters and have uploaded more than 250 videos on income tax and awareness as well as economic update till date with watch time exceeding 1 lakh hours. Have delivered lectures at following visiting faculty for income tax and IP related subjects at various branches of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, RBI, VCM, RIPA, Government of Rajasthan, Income Tax Department Rajasthan, Jaipur, Office of the C&AG Jaipur Audit Wing, NIIT, University, Nimrana, PNB Regional Training Center, Jaipur, Oriental Insurance Company, Zonal Office, Jaipur, the Institute of Cost Accountant of India, Jaipur branch. Now we have CA Shailesh Mantri sir, who is an intellectual speaker, fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, having senior partner at Bhatia Mantri and Company, Chartered Accountants, having office at Jaipur and Mumbai branch. And he has successfully completed the following certification courses organized by the Jaipur branch of ICI, DISA, Forensic Audit and Fraud Detection certificate courses of concurrent audit of banks, insolvency professional, peer reviewers, independent director from MCA. As far as professional experience and achievements are concerned, he is a practicing chartered accountant and a partner at Bhatia Mantri and Company. He has a vast experience in the direct taxes, including statutory audit of private limited companies, trusts, societies, banks, NBFCs, etc., internal audits, tax audits, and stock audits, transactional audit, appeals, and handling scrutiny cases, income tax advisory. He has been a continuous faculty for various topics related to direct taxes, such as TDS, recent updates on the income tax, budgets, how to face assessments, etc. Active participation is in various conferences organized by the Jaipur branch of ICI and study material meeting organized by ICI. So here we invite CA Shailesh Mantri sir to take over and continue the conference. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, all. Thanks for briefing the profile. Let me share the presentation. So, ma'am, presentation is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I start my presentation. I want to share a brief story. शायद हमने सबने ही कहीं ना कहीं पहले भी सुनी है। एक गांव में एक साधु महात्मा अपने शिष्य के साथ में भिक्षा मांगने आते हैं। पहले तो भिक्षा ही था और भिक्षा के बेस पर ही साधु महात्मा अपना जीवन यापन करते थे। और चूंकि आज अपन एनजीओस के रिगार्डिंग डिस्कस करना चाह रहे हैं, नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के रिगार्डिंग डिस्कस करना चाह रहे हैं, तो उसका बेस अगर अपन अपनी संस्कृति में देखें तो वो वहीं से ही कहीं स्टार्ट हुआ है। तो महात्मा अपने शिष्य के साथ घर घर जाके भिक्षा मांगते हैं। भिक्षा से ही उनका जीवन यापन हुआ करता था। वो एक घर गए, दूसरे घर गए, हर घर से जो भी कुछ मिला अपने झोले में ले लेते थे। अब उन्होंने अपना पूरा गांव भ्रमण किया। अंत में एक घर के पास में गए, वहां गेट खटखटाया। एक बहुत छोटी सी कन्या, उन्होंने गेट ओपन किया। दरवाजा खोलते ही भिक्षाम देही का शब्द सुना। तो जो कन्या थी उसने एक ही चीज कही, बाबा आज घर में अभी कोई नहीं है। अब कोई नहीं है ये कह करके वो दरवाजा बंद करने लगी। तो बाबा ने कहा, देखो बेटा, अब भिक्षा मांगने आया हूं, मैं भिक्षा लेकर ही जाऊंगा। तो कन्या ने जवाब दिया, बाबा अभी घर पे कोई है नहीं, दरवाजे पे ताला लगा है और मैं प्रांगण में खेल रही हूँ, मेरे हाथ में कुछ नहीं है। तो बाबा ने बहुत सीधा सा जवाब दिया, मेरी वही भिक्षा है आज। कन्या ने वही किया, एक मुट्ठी मिट्टी की उठाई और वो एक मुट्ठी मिट्टी झोले में डाल दी। पूरे भ्रमण में बाबा ने जितना भी, महात्मा ने जितना भी सामान, खाद्य योग्य सामान इकट्ठा किया था, उसी झोले में भरा हुआ था। और वो एक मुट्ठी मिट्टी की भी उसी झोले में समा गई। बाबा वहां से निकले। निकलते ही थोड़ी दूर जाते ही शिष्य ने पूछा, बाबा आपने एक मुट्ठी भिक्षा, वो भी मिट्टी की मांगी, जो आज के हमारे पूरे खाद्य योग्य सामान को नष्ट कर गई है। बाबा ने एक सुंदर सा जवाब दिया शिष्य को कि बेटा आज अपन भूलका रह लेंगे, लेकिन ये एक मिट्टी की मुट्ठी इस कन्या में जीवन भर का संस्कार ढाल गई। पूरे जीवन में इसको एक चीज ध्यान रहेगी कि हाँ, हमें नित्य कर्म में, अपने हर कर्म के साथ में एक ऐसा दान पुण्य का कर्म निश्चित रूप से करना ही है, और सामर्थ्य अनुसार जैसे भी कर सकें। तो सबसे मेन बेस यही है कि हमारी संस्कृति में हमारे को ये सिखाया गया है कि दान पुण्य एक इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है। हर टास्क के साथ में ये किया जाना चाहिए, चाहे कोई भी कार्य हो। नित्य कर्म तक में हमारा ये इन्वॉल्वमेंट रहता है कि हमें ये करना ही है। हम खाना खाने बैठते हैं तो हमें हमारे खाने में से पहला ग्रास गाय के लिए निकालना ही है। ये हमारे संस्कार है जो हमारे को इस चीज की तरफ मोटिवेट करते हैं कि हमें करना है। तो जील तो है, करना है, अब करें कैसे? तो निमित्त जो जितना कर पाता है वो तो करता ही है। अगर अपन पीछे भी देखें तो पुराने जमाने में भी लोग अपने अपने नामों से जो भी सामर्थ्य योग्य कार्य हो पाते थे, चाहे बावड़ी निर्माण हो, चाहे धर्मशालाओं का निर्माण हो, जो भी सामुदायिक केंद्र या किसी भी तरीके की ऐसी व्यवस्थाएं बनाई जा सकें जो पब्लिक एट लार्ज के बेनिफिट में वो उपयोग में आ सके, तो वो उस तरीके से उन्होंने बनाई। अब आज के संदर्भ में अगर अपन कुछ ऐसा करना चाहें तो कैसे करेंगे? तो आज मैं इसी टॉपिक पर अपना प्रेजेंटेशन लेना चाहूंगा कि हाउ टू इनकॉर्पोरेट द एनजीओस। अपन इनकॉर्पोरेट कैसे करें? तो बेसिक बहुत सिंपल सा है, इनकॉर्पोरेट तो करना है, करा कैसे जाए? सो स्क्रीन इज शेयर्ड, इज इट विजिबल?
Yes, sir.
इज स्क्रीन इज विजिबल?
Yes, sir.
हेलो,
Yes, sir. Visible.
सर प्रेजेंटेबल मोड में कर दो ना सर इसको।
माय स्क्रीन इज विजिबल लोकेश जी?
हाँ सर, प्रेजेंटेबल मोड में कर दीजिए सर। मतलब इसको यहाँ से अपने स्क्रीन एनलार्ज कर दीजिए ना सर।
स्क्रीन इज विजिबल नाउ?
हाँ सर विजिबल है, इसको थोड़ा एनलार्ज कर देंगे सर। पीपीटी
प्लीज
शिफ्ट F5 दबा दो सर।
तो लोकेश सर, यू आर अनम्यूटेड राइट नाउ, यू आर नॉट ऑडिबल।
हाँ सर, इसको प्रेजेंटेबल मोड में कर दीजिए सर, पूरा बिग स्क्रीन पे, मतलब पूरा स्क्रीन उस पे आ जाए। अभी इस पे नीचे नीचे आप शिफ्ट F5 दबा दीजिए।
Okay.
यस।
So now we can incorporate a trust or an NGO in 3 modes. A trust we can register as a simple trust and a society or a company. There are only 3 ways through which we can incorporate a trust in India. A very easiest mode, a trust, we have to write a trust deed through which the trust can be incorporated. Now, in Rajasthan, we are having Rajasthan Public Trust Act, under which we can register it with Devistan Vibhag, and we can register with its sub-registrar also. So, very easiest mode to incorporate a constitution of NGO in form of trust. Now, I just want to share first thing. What will be the deed contents? कोई भी ट्रस्ट बनाई जाए तो उसमें मुख्य पार्ट क्या क्या होंगे? द मेन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग फर्स्ट, नाम। ये ट्रस्ट जो आप बनाने जा रहे हैं वो किस नाम से पहचानी जाए? कई जने होते हैं वो अपने पूर्वजों के नाम से बनाना चाहते हैं, कुछ अपने परिवार के स्नेहीजनों के नाम से बनाना चाहते हैं जो जा चुके हैं इस दुनिया में, उन्हीं की पुण्य स्मृति में, या किसी भी विशेष, कोई भी विशेष आयोजन या किसी भी विशेष रूप में वो अपने किसी एक नाम को आगे लेकर जाना चाहते हैं। तो द फर्स्ट मेन पॉइंट ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ एनजीओ इज द नेम. Whatever the format, the name is must required to know the point what you are. So first main point is trust name, by which the trust will be known in future. Now नाम आ गया तो ट्रस्ट का मुख्य स्थान भी कहीं ना कहीं तो होगा ही. So the place where office shall be situated, or the place from the work of the trust will be going on. अब नाम और आपका एक स्थान जहां से ये बननी है वो तो निर्धारित हो चुके, लेकिन हर चीज के लिए सबसे पहला एक व्यक्ति चाहिए, एक प्रथम व्यक्ति जो इसका निर्माण का मेन आभार संभालेगा, मेन पॉइंट जो आपका ऑथर होगा, सेटलर होगा, जिसकी विल है, जिसकी इच्छा है कि मुझे कुछ करना है, तो वो ट्रस्ट का सेटलर हो गया, वो ऑथर जो इस ट्रस्ट का फर्स्ट सूत्रधार बनेगा. So that person is the author or settler of the trust. ट्रस्ट बन तो रही है, स्टार्ट तो हो रही है, क्या एक आदमी से सब कुछ चल पाएगा? बिना सहयोग के आगे कुछ हो नहीं सकता. तो वैसे ही ट्रस्ट के अंदर भी अपने को मिनिमम 3 persons रिक्वायर्ड है. दीज आर मेंबर्स व्हिच आर रिक्वायर्ड. Minimum 3 persons are compulsory required for incorporate any trust. So the name of trustees we required, other members who will be the participant with that author, जो उस author की इच्छा के साथ में, जो रूपरेखा के साथ में आगे बढ़ना चाह रहे हैं. ट्रस्टीज आ गए, आपके मेंबर्स आ गए. जब समाज इकट्ठा हुआ तो काम भी आगे बढ़ता है. तो आप बेनिफिशियरीज डिसाइड करते हैं कि इस ट्रस्ट से बेनिफिट आप किस किस का सहयोग करना चाहेंगे. ट्रस्ट का सबसे मेन ऑब्जेक्ट क्या होगा, क्या कार्य रेखा, किस विषय पर, किस संदर्भ में ट्रस्ट आगे बढ़ना चाहेगी, वो क्या कार्य करेगी, दैट विल बी पार्ट ऑफ दैट ऑब्जेक्ट. ट्रस्ट का मेन उद्देश्य जो एक सेटलर का व्यू था कि मैं ये ट्रस्ट इसलिए बनाना चाहता हूँ, चाहे वो धर्मार्थ कार्य हो, सेवार्थ कार्य हो, परमार्थ कार्य हो, किसी भी रूप में, चाहे पर्यावरण सुरक्षा हो, चाहे व्यक्ति विशेष सुरक्षा हो कि हाँ हम समुदाय के इस विशेष पार्ट के लिए कुछ करना चाहते हैं, किसी भी रूपरेखा में, किसी भी विशेष टास्क के साथ में, तो वो एक ऑब्जेक्ट होना जरूरी है, क्योंकि बिना किसी ऑब्जेक्ट के कोई भी चीज आगे बढ़ नहीं सकती है. So that object will grow the future of that trust. So that is the main object कि आप काम क्या क्या इस ट्रस्ट में करेंगे, क्या आपकी इच्छा है इस ट्रस्ट के निर्माण के साथ में. That most important part is object. Now आप आपकी इसी ट्रस्ट के साथ में रूपरेखा भी डिसाइड कर सकते हैं कि आपको इसमें मिनिमम कितने मेंबर रखने हैं. मिनिमम 3 कंपल्सरी रिक्वायर्ड है, मैक्सिमम आपके ऊपर है. आप इसमें 15 मेंबर्स ला सकते हैं, वो आप 15 मेंबर्स और भी ज्यादा मेंबर्स भी ला सकते हैं. देयर इज नो लिमिटेशन फॉर दैट. बट हाँ, आगे जितने ज्यादा नंबर्स बढ़ते हैं उतनी ही ट्रस्ट की गतिविधियों के अंदर भी उन सबका अनुग्रह भी रहता है और उन सबका विशेष अनुदान भी रहेगा. तो जिस हिसाब से वो आगे बढ़ेंगे उसी हिसाब से बाकी चीजें भी गवर्न होती जाएगी. नाउ अब आपने मिनिमम और मैक्सिमम नंबर भी आपने इसी ट्रस्ट डीड में डिसाइड कर दिए हैं. अब आपको इसके साथ में बाकी चीजों का भी रूपरेख डिसाइड करना है, क्योंकि ट्रस्ट एक ट्रस्ट डीड के थ्रू इनकॉर्पोरेट हो रही है. ट्रस्ट डीड ही आपकी पूरी गवर्निंग बॉडी रहेगी जो भविष्य में इस सारी ट्रस्ट की कार्य प्रणाली का भी निर्धारण करेगी कि आपकी कार्य प्रणाली किस तरीके से चलेगी, ट्रस्ट किस तरीके से कार्य करेगी, उसका स्थान परिवर्तन करना है या कोई और कार्य आगे ऑब्जेक्ट डिसाइड करने हैं, whatever the work will be done through this deed only। और ये डीड ही आपको पावर देगी कहाँ कब कब किस तरीके से क्या क्या कार्य होगा, निष्पादित किया जाएगा और किस तरीके से ट्रस्ट आगे चलेगी। एक सबसे जीवन का अटल सत्य है कि जो चीज आई है वो जाएगी, ये जीवन का सत्य है। तो इस ट्रस्ट डीड में एक सबसे जरूरी पॉइंट डिसोल्यूशन भी अपने को हमेशा रखना चाहिए कि व्हाट विल बी द प्रोसेस एंड स्टेप्स थ्रू विच द ट्रस्ट विल बी डिसॉल्व्ड इन फ्यूचर। भविष्य में अगर कभी इस ट्रस्ट को डिसॉल्व करने की जरूरत पड़ी तो वो क्या प्रोसेस रहेगा, क्या कार्यवाहियां रहेगी और किस तरीके से उस समय इस ट्रस्ट के डिसोल्यूशन के समय ट्रस्ट में जो संपत्तियां और जो असेट्स क्रिएट होंगी उसका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन किस तरीके से रहेगा। एक मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है जो आज की तारीख में अगर अपन एनजीओ इनकॉर्पोरेट करें तो उसमें अपने को ध्यान रखना चाहिए इररिवोकेबल ट्रस्ट। जब अपन इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट के साथ रजिस्टर करने जाते हैं तो दे ऑलवेज आस्क वन थिंग, इज द ट्रस्ट इज इररिवोकेबल और नॉट। Whatever the assets has been created which can be reverted to anyone else, or what will the process of that part which has been come in this trust. So this is the main important task which should be taken care while drafting the deed, because income tax will always ask what is the format of dissolution, is it in the deed, and is the revocable trust or not. So that we have to take care, as we are incorporating NGO, we have a will to register it with income tax department also, so that the benefit will be shared with another ones also who are participating in this trust and contributing for the trust benefit, for the benefit of the public at large through this trust. So main point, one thing, trust तो बन गया, easiest भी था, आपने एक डीड बनाया, जैसे अपन सिंपलेस्ट पार्टनरशिप का डीड बनाते हैं, बहुत सिंपल सा डीड आपने एक ड्राफ्ट किया, सुंदर सा नाम रखा, नाम के साथ रूपरेखा भी डिसाइड कर दी, ऑब्जेक्ट भी डिसाइड कर दिया, कार्य प्रणालियां भी डिसाइड कर दी, सब कुछ आया। इतना इजी हुआ तो कुछ कमजोरियां भी तो रह सकती हैं। सो लॉ में एक सबसे ज्यादा वीकनेस का पॉइंट, ट्रस्ट रजिस्टर्ड विद सब रजिस्ट्रार्स जो हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक डिसीजन है 7/3/2017 का, ट्रस्ट कैन नॉट फाइल कंप्लेंट्स फॉर कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1980। As per Supreme Court, trust is not a consumer at all. As per this decision, a trust is not a consumer at all. So a weakness of the trust is not consumer, and consumer नहीं है तो consumable कोर्ट में केस फाइल नहीं कर सकते। Very simple weakness I am sharing कि हाँ, ट्रस्ट इनकॉर्पोरेट करते टाइम अगर आप कंज्यूमेबल कैटेगरी में चीजें देख रहे हैं, you cannot file any complaint against anyone in consumer court. A basic information only. ट्रस्ट आपने इनकॉर्पोरेट किया, वेरी इजियर प्रोसेस, एक सिंपल सा ट्रस्ट डीड बना, आपने ट्रस्ट डीड बना लिया, नाउ वेयर इट शुड बी रजिस्टर्ड, यू कैन रजिस्टर इट विद सब रजिस्ट्रार। जैसे अपन कोई प्रॉपर्टी का सेल डीड रजिस्टर कराते हैं, वैसे ही आप इसको आगे जाकर के किसी भी सब रजिस्ट्रार के पास रजिस्टर करा सकते हैं। राजस्थान प्रॉपर्टी है, ये राजस्थान पब्लिक ट्रस्ट एक्ट के तहत आप इसको देवस्थान विभाग में भी रजिस्टर करा सकते हैं। आपका रजिस्टर्ड ट्रस्ट होना कंपलसरी है for getting another benefit of other laws like income tax and any other law which we will share in later on slides. एक वीकनेस मैंने आपको शेयर किया ट्रस्ट का, जो नॉमिनल वीकनेस था, एक बेसिक वीकनेस। नाउ आपने ट्रस्ट बनाया, बहुत इजी बना, जल्दी से बन भी गया, उसकी कुछ लिमिटेशंस थी, तो अपन उसके सेकंड पार्ट में पढ़ते हैं कि अपन उस लिमिटेशंस को कैसे ओवरकम कर सकते हैं। तो वी कैन इनकॉर्पोरेट अ सोसाइटी because trust is not governed by any other law. Public Trust Act जो है वो एक डिफाइंड डेफिनेशन है, वहां पर आप उसके थ्रू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ग्रो कर रहे हैं, बट उसकी गवर्निंग बॉडी वहां पर कोई गवर्निंग एडिशनल गवर्निंग बॉडी नहीं है जो आप पर आपकी गतिविधियों पर या कार्य प्रणालियों पर कोई एडिशनल वॉच रखे। नाउ अगर अपन उससे आगे आते हैं तो वी कैन इनकॉर्पोरेट अ सोसाइटी थ्रू सोसाइटीज रजिस्ट्रेशन एक्ट 1860 and now Rajasthan Society Registration Act 1958। सोसाइटी का इनकॉर्पोरेशन भी बहुत इजी है, अपने पास में प्री प्रिंटेड डॉक्यूमेंट अवेलेबल है जो एक ट्रस्ट डीड के जैसे ही एक सोसाइटी का पूरा डीड है। बायलॉज कह सकते हैं अपन उसको, सोसाइटी के बायलॉज कैटेगरी में प्री प्रिंटेड एक डीड पूरी अवेलेबल है, आप उसके थ्रू इसको रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं। उसमें आपको पूरा कंटेंट राइट करना है, वही बेसिक चीजें। वापस से मैं एक ही चीज कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि आप वापस से कोई सोसाइटी बना रहे हैं तो सोसाइटी इनकॉर्पोरेशन में वापस आपको एक नाम चाहिए। द नेम इज द मस्ट थिंग जिसके थ्रू आप पूरे भविष्य में किसी भी जगह पूरे विश्व में जाने जा सकेंगे। So the main part of again a deed of society is the name, a place where office shall be situated. आपने डीड के लिए नाम तो रख लिया, उसका कार्यकाल कहाँ से चलेगा, उसका ऑफिस प्लेस क्या होगा, यू हैव टू डिक्लेयर हियर ओनली प्लेस वेयर ऑफिस सिचुएटेड, जहां से आपका पूरा ट्रस्ट का कार्य प्रवाह आगे होना है। नाउ ऑफिस बियरर्स सेम, आपके मिनिमम 7 मेंबर्स रिक्वायर्ड है, 7 मेंबर्स के साथ आप सोसाइटी इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं। मोर देन दैट देयर इज नो इशू, ऑफिस बियरर्स में आप उसके नाम दे सकते हैं जितने भी चाहें, मिनिमम 7 मेंबर्स कंपल्सरी रिक्वायर्ड है। आपको उन सब के नेम देने हैं, जो मेंबर्स आपके साथ में इनकॉर्पोरेशन के टाइम, सोसाइटी में इनकॉर्पोरेशन के टाइम पे आपके सहभागी बनना चाह रहे हैं। नाउ अगेन ये ट्रस्ट का बेनिफिशियरीज कौन होगा, वी हैव टू डिफाइन हियर इन दिस डीड कि इस ट्रस्ट से बेनिफिट्स किस किस को होने वाला है, क्या इसका ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज है। ऑब्जेक्ट आप मेन डिफाइन करेंगे कि आप इस ट्रस्ट को निर्माण, इस सोसाइटी का निर्माण किस कार्य के उन्मूलन के लिए करना चाह रहे हैं, क्या टास्क है ऐसा जिसके कारण इस संस्था का निर्माण करने का प्रवाह स्टार्ट हुआ। आप मिनिमम और मैक्सिमम नंबर्स भी डिफाइन कर सकते हैं यही ट्रस्ट डीड के, इस सोसाइटी डीड के अंदर ही, कि हम हमारी सोसाइटी में मिनिमम 7 मेंबर्स, मैक्सिमम 21 मेंबर्स भविष्य में भी रखना चाहेंगे। भविष्य में 21 से ज्यादा किस परिस्थितियों में रहेंगे, कैसे आप उसको बढ़ाना घटाना चाहेंगे, पूरा प्रोसीजरल पार्ट आपको यही इस सोसाइटी डीड में ही डिफाइन करना है। आज से पहले, आज नहीं कहूंगा, 2017 का साल है जहां से अपना सारा कार्य प्रवाह जो है वो ऑनलाइन की तरफ शिफ्ट होता जा रहा है। So now the trust also shifted towards an online portal, and government of Rajasthan and incorporated a special portal sso.rajasthan.gov.in, जो हम सभी जानते हैं, जहां पर मोर देन 120 एक्टिविटीज राइट नाउ स्टार्टेड है, और शायद उससे भी ज्यादा एक्टिविटीज है जो राजस्थान गवर्नमेंट ने एक पोर्टल, वन विंडो में इनकॉर्पोरेट करने की कोशिश की है। आप जो भी रजिस्ट्रेशन राजस्थान गवर्नमेंट के तहत किसी भी एक्ट के अंतर्गत लेना चाहते हैं, आप इस पोर्टल के थ्रू ऑनलाइन ही ले पाएंगे। तो अब आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन जो पहले हुआ करता था कि हाँ आपने डीड बनाई और रजिस्ट्रार सब रजिस्ट्रार के पास सबमिट कर दी और उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेट लिया, वो अब पूरा प्रोसेस सिस्टमेटिकली ऑनलाइन शिफ्ट कर दिया गया है। द होल गवर्निंग बॉडी इज कंट्रोल्ड through online mode, and the website is sso.rajasthan.gov.in. अब इनकॉर्पोरेशन कैसे किया जाए सोसाइटी का, तो यू हैव टू एंटर विद दिस पोर्टल sso.rajasthan.gov.in। उस पर आपको आपका सबसे पहले आईडी क्रिएट करना है, एंड देयर आर ओनली 2 ऑप्शंस, यू कैन क्रिएट एज अ सिटीजन और एज एन अ बिजनेस। या तो आप व्यक्तिगत रूप से या व्यवहारिक रूप से, व्यापारिक रूप से ही आईडी क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। ओनली 2 ऑप्शंस आर देयर, ओनली citizen can go through or a business can register as a can create as a ID. Now what the process of creation of ID? As a citizen there are 2 options, we can create through Google. Now there is one more option, भामाशाह कार्ड, जन आधार कार्ड या भामाशाह कार्ड, जो भी आप उसको वर्ड देना चाहें। Now there are 3 options through which we can incorporate our ID. First, by Aadhaar card, you can create your ID through Aadhaar card number. OTP will be shared on registered Aadhaar number, and you will get your ID created by this portal. Through Google Mail, Gmail, you can also create your ID through Gmail. You have to mention your Gmail ID, and that Gmail ID will directly link with this SSO portal, and your SSO ID will be your Gmail ID. Whatever your Gmail ID is will be your login ID for SSO login portal. Another option, Jan Aadhaar. Earlier it was Bhamasha Aadhaar card. Now Jan Aadhaar card is also acceptable by Rajasthan government, and you can create your ID through that also. Jan Aadhaar number provide करते ही वो आपका ID create करेगा. They will ask your mobile number and email ID. A OTP and username will be shared on that ID, and you will activate this through that portal link which has been shared on registered mail. As an individual, you have created, but sometime we required a business ID also. So business ID can be created through BRN number, easier process of business registration number, and that will be your BRN ID through which you can enter as a BRN, business representations. Now you have created your username. Username will be shared on your mail ID if you are not logging through Gmail. And if you are logging through Gmail, then your user ID itself a Gmail ID. So that your user ID, password will be shared on your registered mail. You can log in and create your process. So you can choose your society registration format. And this will be the picture of that Rajasthan website, rajasthan.gov.sso.rajasthan.gov.in. A citizen, through citizen, you can create by Aadhaar, Google. Now Twitter and Facebook is also one more option. Technology is growing faster. In Udyog, you can create by BRN, and government employees can create their ID with their government ID. Whatever their government ID has been recognized as a membership login. When you create your ID, you will see a page of sso.gov.in where a lot of services are provided. You can register at any requirement of Rajasthan government will be fulfilled only and only with this website. A single page website is here. So you can log in and you can get any information through there. And as we are right now, we'll have to create a society. So we'll select a society. When you select a form of society, there is first requirement, submission of form. You have to fill up the detailed required information, name, place, objects, basic addresses, a settler's name, a first person, and office bearers team, and the other members of that society who are having will to incorporate this society. OTP will be shared on each and every number, which is Aadhaar link OTP, and after acceptance of OTP, that member will only contribute. That member can be a part of that society as a member after having verification of OTP. So the complete form will be filled along with that previous form. We are having a complete booklet as a society deed. You can draft your own deed also, in which you can mention the whole procedural part. जैसे मैंने आपको ट्रस्ट डीड में ही बताया था कि आपको यहीं एक रूपरेखा डिसाइड करनी है कि आपकी ट्रस्ट की सोसाइटी की गतिविधियां भविष्य में किस तरीके से संचालित की जाएंगी, उनका संचालन कैसे होगा, उनका ऑडिट कैसे होगा, उनका हर वर्ष का जो भी आपका कार्य हुआ है उसका आकलन कैसे होगा, और भविष्य क्या इस ट्रस्ट में आप सोसाइटी में आप कैसे कैसे क्या क्या चीजों को डिसाइड कर पाएंगे, वो सब चीजें आपको आज इनकॉर्पोरेशन के टाइम पर यहाँ हाईएस्ट में मेंशन करना है. जितना भी आप आज भविष्य का प्लान कर सकते हैं, यू हैव टू मेंशन हियर so that the trust or the society deed will be itself completed. नहीं तो जब भी आपको भविष्य में किसी और चीज को इनकॉर्पोरेट करने की जरूरत होगी तो यू हैव टू फाइल अ मॉडिफिकेशन, और आपको मॉडिफिकेशन डीड के थ्रू ही यहाँ पर एंट्रेंस लेना रहेगा. जो भी चीजें पहले कहीं अपने चीजों डीड में नहीं थी, जो आप आज भविष्य में उसको लाना चाह रहे हैं, वो सब उसी के थ्रू इस पर आ पाएंगी. बिना अमेंडमेंट आप आपकी रूपरेखा को भविष्य में बढ़ाने में असमर्थ रह पाएंगे. इसीलिए ट्रस्ट का निर्माण चाहे सोसाइटी फॉर्मेट हो चाहे ट्रस्ट फॉर्मेट हो, डीड चाहे थर्ड ऑप्शन जो कंपनीज फॉर्मेट हो, डीड इज द मेन पार्ट, द लीगल बॉडी, द पेपर थ्रू विच द ट्रस्ट और द एनजीओ, आई कैन से द वर्ड प्रॉपर्ली, एनजीओ विल गवर्न इन फ्यूचर, जो अपना भविष्य आगे निर्धारित करेगा. तो आप आज आपके भविष्य की सोचते हुए कि आपको भविष्य में इस ट्रस्ट के थ्रू क्या क्या टास्क चाहिए करने हैं, इसकी रूपरेखा, कार्य प्रणाली, चुनाव, अतिरिक्त मेंबर कैसे ऐड ऑन होंगे, किसी मेंबर को हटाया कैसे जाएगा, निर्वाचन, अकाउंट्स, ऑडिट, फाइनेंशियल्स किस तरीके से डील होंगे, किस किस के पास में क्या क्या अथॉरिटीज रहेंगी, सब चीजें जो आप सिंपलेस्ट वे में रखना चाहते हैं पूरा भविष्य, वो आज आपको पूरा इस फॉर्म के ऊपर, डीड के ऊपर रखना होगा। आप उस सबमिशन, उस फॉर्म को 3 पर्सन मिनिमम साइन करके इस वेबसाइट पे अपलोड करेंगे। जैसे ही आपका ओटीपी सारे वेरीफाई होंगे और अटैचमेंट वहां अपलोड हो जाएगा, तो आपका यहाँ एक पार्ट कंप्लीट होगा फॉर्म सबमिशन का। नाउ आपने आपका काम पूरा किया एंड द सोसाइटी डिपार्टमेंट विल स्टार्ट देयर वर्क आफ्टर दैट, एंड द सेकेंड स्टेप इज वेरिफिकेशन। दे विल चेक योर होल फॉर्म, आपने जो फॉर्म भरा है वो कंप्लीट है, कहीं कोई चीज की रिक्वायरमेंट जो सोसाइटी एक्ट के हिसाब से होनी चाहिए वो है नहीं है, कहीं कोई बाकी रह गई है। लेट्स से आपने उसमें आपका बेनिफिशियरीज का नाम नहीं दिया, बेनिफिशियरी की इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दी है, दैट कुड बी पब्लिक एट लार्ज, और या आप किसी एक समुदाय के लिए कुछ करना चाह रहे हैं, तो वो पार्ट है, या आपके ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज में कुछ इनकम्प्लीट है, whatever, they will examine the whole information, whatever the work which you want to do through this वेरिफिकेशन पार्ट में। उनको अगर कोई भी ऑब्जेक्शन रहता है, दे विल रेज देयर ऑब्जेक्शन, उस ऑब्जेक्शन को आपको फुलफिल करना रहेगा, बिना फुलफिल किए आपका स्टेप आगे नहीं जाएगा। When you complete that part, again the verification part start, and they will examine that the whole task which required for completion of or incorporation of that society through Societies Act, they will give a clean sheet, and the part of verification will be completed. Thereafter, approval process start. A verification person will transfer that application to a sub registrar, and sub registrar will sign it. Now sub registrar will sign it, but you have to pay a fees which is already decided by government of Rajasthan कि अगर आप किसी सोसाइटी का निर्माण करना चाह रहे हैं और उसके ऑब्जेक्ट के बेसिस पे उसकी फीस का निर्धारण किया जाएगा। वो फीस जो सोसाइटीज इनकॉर्पोरेशन की फीस है, जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के पास जाएगी, वो फीस आपके उद्देश्यों के आधार पर ही निर्धारित की जाएगी। अगर आपका उद्देश्य जनरल है, कोई विशेष उद्देश्य नहीं है, जो कि 4 विशेष उद्देश्य सरकार की तरफ से डिफाइन किए गए हैं, अगर उनमें से 4 ऑब्जेक्ट्स में से आपका विशेष उद्देश्य नहीं है, तो आपकी सीधे इनकॉर्पोरेशन फीस की रसीद जो है वो 10,000 की ही चार्ज होगी। सरकार ने 4 विशेष विषय रखे हैं। पहला आपका जो विषय है वो गौ सेवा से निर्धारित है कि अगर आपकी ट्रस्ट सोसाइटी जो है वो अगर गौ सेवा से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज कर रही है तो उसकी फीस डिफाइंड है। अगर आपकी यूथ से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज है, द ट्रस्ट इज जस्ट ओनली फॉर यूथ, देन देयर इज अ फीस इज डिफाइंड। अगर आपकी शिक्षा से रिलेटेड है तो डिफाइंड है, अदरवाइज देयर इज स्पेसिफाइड फीस ऑफ 10,000। आपका अप्रूवल आते ही आपको फीस का पेमेंट करना है। जैसे आप फीस का पेमेंट करके अपलोड करेंगे, आफ्टर सर्टेन टाइम यू विल गेट अ रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑनलाइन इटसेल्फ। आपको कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपके इसी एसएसओ पोर्टल पर ही आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन अवेलेबल रहेगा, जिसे आप वेरी इजीली डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं। अपन ने वेरी इजियर फॉर्मेट तो पढ़े कि सोसाइटी भी इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं, थ्रू सोसाइटी एक्ट आया। नाउ वी आर हैविंग वन मोर टर्म, अ सेक्शन 8 कंपनी। We can create a company which will be NGO, which is not having any profit motto, and government accepted it as a corporate also. So MCA, through MCA we can register and we can opt option for Section 8 company. Again, for Section 8 company, we have to upload MOA and AOA. Main word again वापस से एक ही चीज पे आ रहा हूँ। First part of incorporation of Section 8 company is just similar to process of simple incorporation of company. You have to apply for name. सब जगह नाम की ही लड़ाई है, जो है वो नाम ही है, जिसके लिए आप और मैं आज यहाँ खड़े हैं। जो भी है जहाँ है वो अपने नाम के लिए ही सब कुछ करना चाह रहा है। So the word is again name, through which you want to incorporate the company or the name you want as a your trust, your NGO. First, name have to be allotted. First, you have to reserve your name. After reservation of name, simple process जो सेक्शन 8 कंपनी का है वो एज इक्वलेंट टू प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज के इनकॉर्पोरेशन के जैसा ही है. सेम प्रोसेस, कोई विशेष परिवर्तन नहीं है. यहाँ एक चीज जो है वो एक इतना सा जानकारी है कि आप विथ 2 पर्सन्स भी, मिनिमम 2 डायरेक्टर्स के साथ में भी कंपनी एनजीओ स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. ट्रस्ट एक्ट मिनिमम 3 कंपल्सरी करता है. सोसाइटी एक्ट मिनिमम 7 कंपल्सरी करता है. सेक्शन 8 कंपनी आप मात्र 2 जनों के साथ भी स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. सेक्शन 8 कंपनी विल बी स्टार्टेड ओनली एंड ओनली मिनिमम 2 पर्सन्स. मैक्सिमम लिमिटेशंस कुछ हैं, बट मिनिमम लिमिटेशन सबसे कम यहाँ पर आपको 2 व्यक्ति चाहिए. The 2 directors who submit their all documents with MOA and AOA. अगेन MOA एंड AOA मुझे एक्सप्लेन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जो प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी का इनकॉर्पोरेशन है वो थ्रू MOA एंड AOA आता है, और MOA एंड AOA विल द होल गवर्निंग बॉडी ऑफ योर कंपनी. जस्ट अपन ने सोसाइटी डीड, ट्रस्ट डीड में कहा, वैसे ही सेम अ गवर्निंग बॉडी विल बी डिफाइंड विद MOA एंड AOA. प्रोसेस रजिस्ट्रेशन का बहुत सिंपल, जैसा प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज में है. अब प्रोसेस तो समझ में आया. अब ये निर्णय कैसे लिया जाए वे भी समझ में आ गए. तीनों हैं, ट्रस्ट भी है, सोसाइटी भी है, कंपनी भी है. आप बना कुछ भी सकते हैं. सबके कुछ फायदे भी हैं, कुछ नुकसान भी हैं. आप कैसे डिसाइड करें कि व्हाट मेथड शुड बी अडॉप्टेड, अ ट्रस्ट, अ सोसाइटी और अ कंपनी. एवरीथिंग हैव सम बेनिफिट. सो अगेन कुछ ना कुछ उसकी लिमिटेशंस भी है. तो अपने को सबसे पहला टास्क, जो सबसे मेन इंपॉर्टेंट टास्क है, वो डिसाइड करना कि आप फॉर्मेट क्या लेंगे. व्हाट विल बी द फॉर्मेट, अ ट्रस्ट फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग ए न्यू एनजीओ और अ सोसाइटी और अ कंपनी. फॉर्मेट क्या चुना जाए, दैट इज द मेन पॉइंट. अब ये डिसाइड कैसे किया जाए कि मैं क्या चूज करूं. तो देयर आर सम एस्पेक्ट्स थ्रू व्हिच वी कैन इजीली फाइंड आउट द वे कि हाँ ये ही मैं चूज कर सकता हूँ, ये मेरी रिक्वायरमेंट में सबसे बेस्ट फुलफिलमेंट में आ सकता है. वो क्या हो सकते हैं. सबसे पहला, इनकॉर्पोरेशन प्रोसेस. कई जनों को बहुत रहता है कि यार इनकॉर्पोरेट जल्दी से कर दो. वी आर हैविंग वेरी अपन कह सकते हैं इतनी ज्यादा जल्दी है कि वो टास्क जो क्रिएट करना चाह रहे हैं वो बहुत सून होने वाला है, और वी कांट वेट फॉर दैट. मेरे को नाम तो बहुत जल्दी से जल्दी ट्रस्ट में डालना है और मुझे ट्रस्ट इनकॉर्पोरेट करना है वेरी सून. तो फर्स्ट पॉइंट, अगर लॉ कंप्लायंस की बात करें तो ट्रस्ट is having very least compliance. Just like proprietorship firm, आपका नाम, या we can say just like partnership firm, we can just incorporate a deed. आपने नाम निर्धारित किया, एक स्टैम्प पेपर 500 रुपए का खरीदा, 2000 रुपए का पार्टनरशिप फॉर्म में रिक्वायर्ड है. ट्रस्ट कैन बी इनकॉर्पोरेटेड टू अ डीड which is required minimum stamp paper of 500 रुपीज के स्टैम्प पेपर के ऊपर आपने अपना पूरा जो भी डीड का, जो भी आपका ट्रस्ट का ऑब्जेक्ट था और ट्रस्ट की जो रूपरेखा थी, पूरी कार्य प्रणाली को आपने एक डीड फॉर्मेट पे लेकर के उसका इनकॉर्पोरेशन किया. वेरी इजीएस्ट मेथड टू स्टार्ट टू इनकॉर्पोरेट. तो आपने इनकॉर्पोरेट तो बहुत इजी कर लिया. नाउ कुछ लिमिटेशंस भी हैं. फायदे गिनते हैं पहले, लिमिटेशंस में आगे चलते हैं. आपने इनकॉर्पोरेट किया, जस्ट 500 रुपीज कॉस्ट पे आपका डीड इनकॉर्पोरेट हो गया. नाउ यू हैव टू रजिस्टर इट विद सब रजिस्ट्रार, और यू कैन रजिस्टर इट विद देवस्थान विभाग अंडर राजस्थान पब्लिक ट्रस्ट एक्ट. आप इसको देवस्थान विभाग में भी रजिस्टर करा सकते हैं अगर आपके कार्य देवस्थान विभाग से रिलेटेड है तो, और अदरवाइज आप इसको ट्रस्ट को सब रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ ट्रस्ट के सब रजिस्ट्रार के पास में भी आप इसको रजिस्टर करा सकते हैं. तो इनकॉर्पोरेशन कॉस्ट जो था बहुत इजी हुआ. प्रोसेस, कानूनी कार्यवाही बहुत कम रही, और आपका इनकॉर्पोरेशन बहुत फटाफट से हो गया. बट मैंने एक लिमिटेशन आपको बहुत पहले बताया था, कंज्यूमर कोर्ट. You cannot file any consumer court application because Supreme Court has defined that a trust is not a consumer at all. अब इसकी भविष्य की कॉस्ट की बात करें तो इसमें कोई एनुअल कंप्लायंस, चूंकि ट्रस्ट आपका एक इनकॉर्पोरेशन थ्रू डीड है और उसका किसी भी अदर डिपार्टमेंट में कोई भी न्यायोचित कार्य रूपरेखा डिफाइंड नहीं है, तो आप उसके लिए कहीं पर भी बाउंडेड नहीं है कि आपको स्पेसिफिक कंप्लायंस कानूनी रूप से कंपल्सरीली कहीं और करने हैं। मैं अभी इनकम टैक्स एक्ट की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। इनकम टैक्स एक्ट सभी पर लागू है, जो जिस से जुड़ता जाएगा वो उसके आगे उसके कानून बढ़ते जाएंगे। लेकिन अगर मैं ट्रस्ट की बात करूं तो उसको इनकम टैक्स एक्ट छोड़ करके और कोई भी एक्ट एज पर गवर्निंग बॉडी अभी लागू नहीं है। दे आर फ्री, दे हैव टू रजिस्टर विद देयर डिपार्टमेंट, व्हाटएवर डिपार्टमेंट आगे भविष्य में जिस कंप्लायंस के साथ उनको कंप्लायंस देता जाएगा, दे हैव टू जस्ट फुलफिल दैट पार्ट ओनली। उस गवर्निंग बॉडी के साथ में उसके जो बेसिक कंप्लायंसेस रहेंगे, उसके अलावा कोई एनुअल कंप्लायंस कॉस्ट उसकी नहीं है। तो ट्रस्ट में इनकॉर्पोरेशन बहुत इजी हुआ, कॉस्ट बहुत इजी था, और भविष्य की जो लागत है वो भी बहुत कम है। तो सिंपलेस्ट प्रोसेस जो रहा वो एक ट्रस्ट फॉर्मेट में रहा। नाउ ट्रस्ट फॉर्मेट तो आया, लेकिन उसका भविष्य में रूपरेखा में अगर कहीं कोई परिवर्तन करना पड़े तो वो थोड़ा सा टेक्निकली टफ है, because you again have to redraft your whole trust deed along with amendment, and that amendment will be registered with again as like registered deed with sub registrar. Then you can incorporate the trust amendments only. अब इस दुविधा से बाहर आए तो अपने पास में एक ऑप्शन है सोसाइटी। आपका नाम जो है वो रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो गया यहाँ पे। नेम पर आप सोसाइटी एक्ट की जो गवर्निंग पॉलिसीज हैं फॉर डिफाइनिंग द नेम, फॉर अप्रूवल ऑफ नेम, यू हैव टू फॉलो दैट। मैंने आपको थोड़ी सी देर पहले भी बताया था कि उसमें इनकॉर्पोरेशन कॉस्ट है वो फिक्स 10,000 है। अगर आपके ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं वो डिफाइंड कैटेगरी में नहीं आ रहे हैं तो वो गौ सेवा या यूथ से रिलेटेड, नारी उत्थान से रिलेटेड नहीं है, तो आपकी कॉस्ट स्ट्रेट अवे 10,000 मिनिमम इनकॉर्पोरेशन कॉस्ट फिक्स है। दैट इज स्टैट्यूटरी कॉस्ट, दैट इज स्टैट्यूटरी कॉस्ट जो आपको सोसाइटी रजिस्ट्रेशन इनकॉर्पोरेशन पे सब रजिस्ट्रार के अप्रूवल होते ही पे करनी है। देन आफ्टर यू विल गेट दैट सर्टिफिकेट। सोसाइटी एक्ट में भी स्पेसिफिकली एनुअल कंप्लायंसेस कोई डिफाइंड नहीं है कि आपको हर सालाना आपके ऑडिटेड अकाउंट्स कहीं सबमिट करने हैं, ऐसा कंप्लायंस डिफाइंड है, कंपल्सरी नहीं है। तो सोसाइटी में भी आपको नेम का एक रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, आप वहां पर कुछ स्पेसिफाइड कैटेगरी के नाम नहीं रख सकते हैं। वो चीजें जो सोसाइटीज एक्ट के तहत है वो आपको फॉलो करते हुए ही नेम अलॉट होगा, जबकि ट्रस्ट एक्ट में आप आपकी स्वेच्छा से नाम का निर्धारण कर सकते हैं। वहां पर किसी का भी कोई कंट्रोल आप पर प्रोहिबिशन में नहीं आएगा। सोसाइटीज एक्ट में आपको गवर्निंग बॉडी सोसाइटी रहेगा और सब रजिस्ट्रार कैन ऑब्जेक्ट द नेम इफ इट इज ऑब्जेक्टेबल एज पर सोसाइटीज एक्ट। एनुअल कंप्लायंसेस कुछ भी नहीं है, ना के बराबर। अदर कंप्लायंसेस की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं मैं, बेसिक सोसाइटी गवर्निंग बॉडी की बात कर रहा हूं। नाउ सेक्शन 8 कंपनी स्टार्ट करते हैं तो आपके पास में नेम एक रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, तो ये नेम ही आपका शील्ड भी है। कंपनीज एक्ट का मेन इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है कि जो आपने नेम इनकॉर्पोरेट किया दैट विल नॉट बी अलॉटेड टू एनीवन एल्स। मैं कुछ यूं कहूं लिमिटेशंस पे कि लेट्स से मैंने आज मेरा एक ट्रस्ट नाम रखा शैलेश चैरिटेबल, व्हाटएवर, मैं एक बेसिक नेम के साथ करता हूं, चलो कुछ भी एस ट्रस्ट करके मैंने नाम रखा। वो ट्रस्ट नेम अगर गुड फेम क्रिएट करने लगा तो कैन बी कॉपीड बाय एनीवन एल्स, और मैं उस ट्रस्ट नेम के लिए कहीं पर भी इतने लिमिटेशंस के साथ में नहीं ले जा पाऊंगा कि भाई साहब यू कैन नॉट यूज दिस नेम बिकॉज इट्स registered trust. very easily आप ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं। प्रॉब्लम है आप आपके नाम के साथ में एक सिमिलर सोसाइटी दूसरे शहर में बना सकते हैं। आपका नाम अगर सेल फेम क्रिएट कर रहा है तो एनीवन कैन क्रिएट दैट नेम एट एनीवेयर आल्सो। एक और लिमिटेशन, सोसाइटीज एक्ट रिस्ट्रिक्टेड विद राजस्थान है, आपका वर्क स्कोप विद इन स्टैंडर्ड एरिया ही डिफाइन रहेगा। टू कम अप विद दिस डिफिकल्टी वी आर हैविंग अ सेक्शन 8 कंपनी। आप आपके नेम को रिजर्व रख सकते हैं, दैट नेम कैन नॉट बी अलॉटेड टू एनीवन एल्स बिकॉज एमसीए इज टेकिंग केयर ऑफ दैट पार्ट कि ये एक नाम जो किसी को अलॉट ऑलरेडी कर दिया गया है, नेम जब नया अप्लाई होगा अगर वो उसके रजिस्टर्ड फील्ड में कहीं पर ऑलरेडी मैचिंग है तो दैट नॉट बी अलॉटेड टू यू। अ न्यू इनकॉर्पोरेशन नेम, अब मेन डिफिकल्ट पार्ट जो अपन प्राइवेट लिमिटेड या कोई भी कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं तब सबसे पहला पार्ट ये क्या आता है, नेम का। आपने नेम इनकॉर्पोरेशन लिया, आपके ऊपर एक गवर्निंग बॉडी एमसीए है। नाउ आपको एज ए एमसीए मेंबर, एज ए एमसीए अंडर एमसीए कंट्रोल, सारे कंप्लायंस पार्ट जो कंपनीज एक्ट के तहत गवर्न होते हैं वो पूरे ड्यू टाइम कोर्स में ही करने होंगे। अपन सब जानते हैं जैसे DIR3 केवाईसी फॉर्मेट है, आपका एनुअल कंप्लायंस फॉर्म है, AOC 4 है, MGT 7 है। आपकी स्पेसिफिकली कोई भी आप चेंजेस करना चाह रहे हैं तो उसका कंप्लायंस गवर्निंग बॉडी गवर्निंग फॉर्म के थ्रू है जो ऑलरेडी एमसीए में डिफाइंड है। आपको उन सब पार्ट्स को कंप्लीट करते हुए ही आपका इनकॉर्पोरेशन पार्ट कंप्लीट करना रहेगा, जिसके थ्रू आप इसको आगे ले जा पाएंगे। नाउ कंपल्सरी एनुअल फाइलिंग आई तो अपने को ये डिसाइड करना वेरी इजी हुआ कि क्या सामने वाला व्यक्ति चाह रहा है। If he is having very specific requirement to secure the name, company is the best format. No one can be allotted this name again, but compliance part is also there. A limitation of work scope is now not covered here because company में आप all India में working करने के लिए eligible हैं और आपकी credit worthiness जो आपके words के साथ में है that can be examined by anyone from anywhere through MCA. So this is the beneficial point of company, but cost is high, incorporation compliance is high, dissolution compliance is also high. कंपनी का जितना इजी नाम लेना है उतना ही इजी इसको क्लोज, उतना ही डिफिकल्ट इसको क्लोज करना है। आप इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं, क्लोजर का प्रोसेस भी कॉस्टलियर है और प्रोसेस जो है वो टाइम कंज्यूमिंग विथ लॉग कंपोनेंट को ध्यान रखते हुए स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेलिटीज को कंप्लायंस करे बिना नहीं हो सकता है। हर चीज का कुछ बेनिफिट और मेरिट डीमेरिट हमेशा रहेंगे। सो एज पर क्लाइंट रिक्वायरमेंट वी हैव टू डिसाइड व्हाट फॉर्मेट दे रिक्वायर्ड, व्हाट इज द विजन, वो जो उनका रूपरेखा बनाना चाह रहे हैं वो किस तरीके की है, जिसके बेस पर अपन ये डिसाइड करें कि दे शुड गो एज अ ट्रस्ट फॉर्मेट, एज अ सोसाइटी फॉर्मेट, एज अ कंपनी फॉर्मेट। अगर उनका कार्य प्रणाली पूरा का पूरा भारत वर्ष में है तो यू हैव टू गो थ्रू ओनली एंड ओनली कंपनी ऑप्शन। ट्रस्ट भी ला सकते हैं लेकिन उसकी लिमिटेशंस अदर्स आ जाएंगी, तो कंपनी इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन। अगर आपका कार्य क्षेत्र जो है वो एक डिफाइंड एरिया नहीं होकर के पब्लिक एट अ लार्ज में पूरा इंडिया कवर अप करने का है तो यू कैन गो एज अ कंपनी एनजीओ। अगर आप किसी एक स्टेट क्षेत्र में रह करके कार्य करना चाह रहे हैं तो यू कैन गो एज अ सोसाइटी, बिकॉज हर स्टेट का एक सोसाइटी एक्ट है और आप अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन सोसाइटी एक्ट के थ्रू लेकर के आप उसमें प्रोसीजरल पार्ट फॉलो करते हुए रजिस्ट्रेशन इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं। ट्रस्ट अगर किसी को सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्मेट में इजीएस्ट कन्वीनियंस लिटिल स्मॉलर कॉस्ट के साथ में इनकॉर्पोरेट करना है तो यू कैन गो एंड यू कैन सजेस्ट एज अ ट्रस्ट ऑप्शन। बेसिक कंपोनेंट इनकॉर्पोरेशन, आपने इनकॉर्पोरेशन डीड बनाई, जिसकी रिक्वायरमेंट जैसी थी उसको उसके तहत रजिस्टर किया, चाहे वो ट्रस्ट एक्ट हो, चाहे सोसाइटीज एक्ट हो, चाहे कंपनीज एक्ट हो, आपने उसका इनकॉर्पोरेशन उस फॉर्मेट के हिसाब से डीड को लेते हुए किया। अब इनकॉर्पोरेट तो हुई, इनकॉर्पोरेशन के बाद क्या? ये तो एक आपका खाली संरचना बनी है, आपकी जो दिमाग में ख्याल था उसका चित्रांकन हुआ है। अब उसके बाद में कहाँ कहाँ अपन इसको रजिस्टर करें, क्या क्या कंप्लायंस है, क्या क्या छूट है, क्या क्या रजिस्ट्रेशंस हैं, और इसके अलावा तो मैं आपको एक चीज शेयर करना चाहूंगा सभी को। आफ्टर इनकॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ ट्रस्ट वी हैव टू अप्लाई फर्स्ट मस्ट थिंग इनकम टैक्स पैन नंबर। पैन अप्लाई करके अपन इसको इनकम टैक्स एक्ट के साथ एसोसिएट करना चाहेंगे, ताकि अब आप पब्लिक एट लार्ज बेनिफिट के लिए काम करना चाहेंगे तो इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट जो जो छूट आपको प्रोवाइड करा रहा है आफ्टर मेकिंग द कंप्लायंस पार्ट वो आप यहाँ ले पाएंगे। और इसके अलावा अपन कई और रजिस्ट्रेशंस भी कर सकते हैं जो वेरी रिसेंट डेवलपमेंट्स भारत सरकार के द्वारा किए गए हैं। अब कोई भी एनजीओ अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन एट ए एनजीओ दर्पण पोर्टल पे भी कर सकता है जो भारत सरकार का पोर्टल है। इसके अलावा अगर किसी ट्रस्ट में किसी भी एनजीओ या सोसाइटी के अंदर कंपनीज के अंदर फॉरेन कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस आने हैं तो दे आर बाउंड टू गेट इट रजिस्टर्ड विद देमसेल्फ एज एफसीआरए। एफसीआरए के साथ में आपको आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कंपलसरी है। विदाउट दैट रजिस्ट्रेशन यू कैन नॉट रिसीव फॉरेन कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस। अगर कोई भी संस्था एनजीओ विदाउट एफसीआरए रजिस्ट्रेशन फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रिसीव करती है, देयर इज अ पेनल्टी. So we have to comply that process part also. दर्पण पोर्टल के थ्रू आप सरकारी जो भी ट्रस्ट की इंफॉर्मेशन है वो वहाँ अपलोड करके सरकारी छूट जो ट्रस्ट के लिए अवेलेबल हैं, या ये कहें कि दर्पण पोर्टल एक ऐसा पोर्टल है जहां पर सभी ट्रस्ट अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन अपने अपने ऑब्जेक्ट टास्क के साथ में कर रही हैं, और कोई भी व्यक्ति किसी रिलेटेड ऑब्जेक्ट्स को सर्च करते हुए आए तो उनको एक डेटाबेस मिले कि हाँ कौन कौन व्यक्ति कौन कौन संस्थाएं किस किस ऑब्जेक्ट्स पर टास्क कर रही है. जैसे आप अगर चाहें कि यार मैं योग साधना से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज की ट्रस्ट पर कुछ खर्च करना चाहता हूँ, ये मेरा मन है कि मैं पर्यावरण से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज में जो ट्रस्ट इन्वॉल्व है मैं उन पे कुछ खर्च करना चाहता हूँ, तो यू कैन सर्च आउट वेरी इजीली थ्रू दर्पण पोर्टल. तो एक प्लेटफॉर्म गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने बनाया जहां एनजीओज अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन एज पर ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज करेंगे, और उस ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज के बेसिस पे अगर कोई व्यक्ति उस संस्था से आगे व्यवहार में कुछ डोनेशन करके या कुछ भी अपना ऑब्जेक्ट फुलफिल करना चाहे तो उस ऑब्जेक्ट संस्था से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज के लिए कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है. दे कैन कंट्रीब्यूट बाय एक्सेप्टिंग दिस मेथड कि अभी किसी को भी पता नहीं कहाँ कौन सी ट्रस्ट कहाँ पर है. नाउ वन पोर्टल इज देयर विच इज गवर्न्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और दर्पण पोर्टल. उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस सिंपल ही है. आपको सिंपल प्रोसेस में दर्पण पोर्टल पे लॉगिन करके यूजर आईडी क्रिएट करना है और आफ्टर दैट एक सिंपल फॉर्म अपलोड करना है जिसके थ्रू आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन अनलॉक होगा. Another compulsory registration is FCRA registration. If you are having any amount to be contributed from out of India, then you are bound to get it registered with FCRA. This is a central governing body. FCRA is only and only allotted by Government of India. State government is not involved here, and that registration is governed through Delhi. They will examine your all documents, and after that, they will issue you FCRA registration. But one more limitation: as and when you get registration with FCRA, you are bound to file specific information of funds received from out of India. If you have not received any fund, then again you are still bound to file nil return. Compulsory nil return have to be filed with FCRA registered persons. अगर FCRA registered persons, registered NGOs अपना टाइमली रिटर्न फाइल नहीं कर रहे हैं तो गवर्नमेंट इज पेनलाइजिंग देम एंड द रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ एफसीआरए कैन आल्सो बी कैंसिल्ड. रिसेंटली गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने मोर देन 5000 रजिस्ट्रेशन वन शॉट पे कैंसिल कर दिए हैं जिन्होंने कंप्लायंस पार्ट को नेग्लिजेंसी में लिया और कंप्लायंस पूरा नहीं किया. तो मेरा सजेशन है अगर आप एफसीआरए रजिस्टर्ड हैं या रजिस्ट्रेशन ले रहे हैं, जस्ट फॉलो द टाइम कंप्लायंस पार्ट ऑल्सो. लॉ कंप्लायंस को पूरा टाइम पर कंप्लीट करें. जस्ट लाइक एमसीए अपन एनुअल रिटर्न टाइम पर कंप्लीट करते हैं, यू हैव टू फाइल योर एनुअल रिटर्न विद एफसीआरए डिपार्टमेंट आल्सो. नाउ मेन पार्ट, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट. एज पर इनकम टैक्स एक्ट वी आर हैविंग 2 पॉइंट्स. व्हाट फर्स्ट, एनजीओ नाम ही सबसे पहला आता है, नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. बट व्हाट इज द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन? गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज ग्रांटेड सम exemptions who are fulfilling the definition of section 215. अगर आपका ऑब्जेक्ट एज पर इनकम टैक्स एक्ट 215 में कवर्ड है, you can get these benefits which can be available for your NGO. Now what benefit will be that are governed through section 11, 12 and 13. The main important task is registration. You have to register yourself for getting the benefit. As per income tax law, you have to register with income tax department. The PAN allotment is only your identification number, not registration with the department. You have to fulfill the compliance part, which are, if your objects are defined as per 215, then you can register it under section 12A. कुछ लिमिटेशंस हैं, कुछ फायदे हैं. फायदे तो नो डाउट सरकार दे रही है तो बहुत ज्यादा होंगे, लिमिटेशंस ज्यादा नहीं है. लिमिटेशंस खाली एक है, आपको टाइम कंप्लायंस का ध्यान रखना है, रूल्स रेगुलेशंस को प्रॉपर्ली फॉलो करना है. तो आपका जो भी रिसिप्ट होगा, अगर आप 100% रिसिप्ट में से 85% एक्यूमुलेट कर देते हैं, खर्च कर पाते हैं फॉर द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ पब्लिक इन लार्ज बेनिफिट और फॉर फुलफिलमेंट ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ द ट्रस्ट, देन you have no tax liability, no tax burden on your NGO. Now, what is the process of registration under section 12AA? Recently, government has changed the complete procedural part of registration. Earlier, a registration will be granted under 12A as well as under section 80Z also. So that registration was governed and will be at that time in 2020. Earlier 2020, it was perpetual. Your registration once granted will be granted for the lifetime without any objection until unless Commissioner of Income Tax itself is not having view that you are not doing the objects, your objects are not, or your deeds done are not as per the requirement of the Income Tax Department, then they can penalize you, penalize your NGO, and they can cancel your registration. Until unless if any objection has not been raised, your registration will be perpetual. But in last and last year's speech, government has changed the policy, and now the registration is granted for 5 years. Every 5 years it will be required of renewal. मैं कहूं तो 2007 से पहले भी ये प्रोसेस था कि आपको रिन्यूअल्स फॉलो करना जरूरी हुआ करता था. But in that there was 12A was perpetual until unless not withdrawn by Income Tax Department, and the other registrations for allowing the other reliefs to the person who are contributing to the NGO like ATG, Section 35 benefits, that will be time limitations. That was limited with time कि आपका registration will be a life of 3 years or a 5 years. Earlier it was in before 2007 it was 3 years life, and every 3 years after completion of that 3 years NGO have to re-register their have to apply for renewal of their certificates, and the certificate will be renewed after examination of the all records, all deeds, all tasks which has been done by the society or by the NGO in last 3 years. So always government was checking that part कि हाँ आपने जो किया वो as per requirement of your object था, as per benefit of public at large था, तो वो चीजों को ध्यान रखते हुए वो रिन्यूअल वहां पर था. In 2007, later on in 2009, the government come with a view that now there is no requirement of renewal. आपको रिन्यूअल की जरूरत नहीं है, परपेचुअल कर दिया. जिसका भी आज रजिस्ट्रेशन है दैट विल बी परपेचुअल अंटिल अनलेस नॉट विथड्रॉन बाय द गवर्नमेंट इटसेल्फ. ये व्यू उस टाइम आया और वो चला 2019-20 तक. 20 में सरकार ने व्यू चेंज किया कि नाउ द ईच एंड एवरी रजिस्टर्ड इंस्टीट्यूशन व्हिच इज रजिस्टर्ड विद इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट अंडर सेक्शन 12A, 1023 or any other section like ATG, 35, whatever any section which are granting any exemption as per income tax law have to re-register them, and a new certificate will be granted under form 10AC. That certificate will be granted under form 10AC certificate, which will have a life of 5 years, and after completion of 5 years again a renewal process will be started, and thereafter you can get the benefit of that trust. 215 की डेफिनेशन में बोल रहा था आपको कि क्या टास्क हैं जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया चाहती है. भारत सरकार भी एक, मैं ये कहूं कि सरकार भी हमेशा यही चाहेगी कि पब्लिक एट लार्ज को बेनिफिट मिले. तो जो व्यक्ति ऐसा टास्क कर रहा हो जो पब्लिक एट लार्ज को कंट्रीब्यूट करे, तो क्यों ना उसको भी इनकम टैक्स में छूट दी जाए. तो यहाँ पर ऐसे टास्क को डिफाइन किया गया. There are activities which are covered under section 215 is relief of the poor. If any NGO is working for relief of poor, for education, for medical relief, environment development activities, moments or place development activities, and taking care of monuments and places which are historical places or artistical places, yoga is also covered here, and any general public utility which is just for welfare of the persons or public at large have covered here. तो भारत सरकार का उद्देश्य यही है कि जो सरकार एज ए राजा करना चाहे पब्लिक एट लार्ज के बेनिफिट में, अगर उस कार्य में कोई भी सहयोगी हो तो एटलीस्ट उस पर टैक्स का बर्डन तो ना रहे. So that this section 11 introduced, and 12A and 80G registration has been allotted, and some other sections benefit is also allotted, like I can say research and development activities, जिसके लिए section 35 में activities defined है. अगर आप उस तरीके की किसी भी activities जो भारत के निर्माण के सहयोग में आ सकती हैं, जो भारत सरकार के लिए आगे भविष्य निर्धारण में रूपरेखा में भारत के टास्क कंप्लीट करने के लिए, सरकार के सोशल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टास्क कंप्लीट करने में सहयोगी हैं, उन सबके टैक्स पार्ट के लिए रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए कंप्लायंस रहा. तो मैंने आपको बेसिक रजिस्ट्रेशन कंप्लायंस शेयर किया, ट्रस्ट इनकॉर्पोरेशन से लेकर के उसके टैक्सेशन पार्ट तक तो मैं यहाँ पर आपको ब्रीफिंग कर रहा हूँ. इनकॉर्पोरेट हो गया आपका, इनकॉर्पोरेशन व्हाटएवर इन द मोड ऑफ ट्रस्ट रहा हो, सोसाइटी रहा हो या कंपनीज रहा हो, इनकॉर्पोरेशन में मैंने आपको बेसिक गाइडलाइन दिया. अब मेन पार्ट आता है, आपने इनकॉर्पोरेट तो किया, नाउ यू आर रजिस्टर्ड विद इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट आल्सो, तो यू हैव टू कंप्लाई विद दैट पार्ट आल्सो. और मेरे को स्पीकर अनूप भाटिया सर हैं जो इस पर आपका सेशन लेंगे. एंड थैंक यू. इफ एनीवन हैव एनी क्वेरी प्लीज शेयर. I hand over to Anoop Bhatia sir.
Thank you, Shailesh bhai, for such a nice session that you have covered all the points in terms of how the taxation of how the formation of charitable institution should be ensured, what are the pros and cons regarding that. And you have also shared the idea of section 12A, 12AA with respect to the mindset of the government of India. So thank you very much to the Jaipur branch of ICAI for giving me this opportunity to be here amongst all the respected members of the fraternity and to discuss on this critical topic. I deliberately use the word critical topic of taxation of charitable trust, religious trust, and this also covers section 1023C institutions. And we all know that you can say with a confidence that government is now trying to chase the charitable entities. Government is, I can say, it is really after these institutions, the kind of amendments which we are seeing since last few years. And you can see in this budget also there are critical provisions which have been done in relation to the taxation of charitable entities. So the government is trying its level best to ensure that the public money is used for the public purposes. No doubt, these kind of amendments which promote this particular object are really welcome objects or the welcome amendments. But wherever the procedural aspects are increasing or too much of harshness is being created on the trust in form of that, okay, if you are spending from the corpus, then you may not be able to claim the application. And there are certain other treatments which are also recently inserted by Finance Act 2021. They are like, for an example, you make certain application by way of taking a loan. They are claiming that no, if you are availing a loan and then you are spending for the purposes of say charity, then you may not be able to claim the application. And the most dangerous provision, my dear friends, which I have seen happening through Finance Act 2021 was that if you have any carry forward losses, then same shall not be allowed to be set off. Now this really appears to me illogical. Okay, no doubt that all kind of things are prevailing and a professional's responsibility regarding these things to be present properly in the ITR of the assessee trust. Here, when I'm using the term, I also cover any other institution which is duly registered under section 12AA or 12AB of Income Tax Act 1961. So first, what I think that as a chartered accountant, as a practitioner, when a trust comes to me, it is my responsibility to take care about the applicability of 10B, that is form 10B, and that it is duly filled up, properly filled up in a proper manner from my side. And this is the full audit of an assessee trust by the practicing chartered accountant. So let me therefore discuss with you in terms of what is form 10B, what points which we as a chartered accountant can take care about, what are the other forms which are related to the trust which are very important, that I will try to put up before you through this discussion. And my dear friends, in addition to it, we will also try to see some portion of the ITR form, that is ITR 7 form, which is applicable in relation to trust, where we filing such particular form for an assessee for a client, then what are the various critical points which we should take care about? So I would like to share my presentation on this for the reference of all. And now, as I said that beginning, I would like to do with Form 10B, and to do so, I'm just putting up before you the provisions of Section 12A. And my dear friends, recently I have seen that in few institutions case where the ITR 7 was filed by a charitable institution or a religious institution, and Form 10B was not uploaded somehow for whatever reason, then 143(1) intimation demand is created on the assessee at the rate 30%, saying that you have not filed 10B. Rather, some of the institution could not recognize that what is the reason of this particular demand being created, and we found that 10B was not filed. So this is the importance of 10B which I am putting up before you. Let me read Section 12A here for your reference. Section 12A is a very critical section, as you all know, for claiming the exemption of Section 11-12, and the title of it is Conditions for Applicability of Section 11 and 12. The provisions of Section 11-12 shall not apply in relation to income of any trust or institution unless the following conditions are fulfilled. So, my dear friends, the mandate of Section 12A is very clear that you will not be available to claim the exemption of 11 and 12 unless you fulfill the conditions mentioned in Section 12. And one of the conditions in 12A subsection 1 is clause B, which says, where the total income of the trust or institution as computed under this act without giving effect to the provisions of Section 11 and 12 exceeds the maximum amount which is not chargeable to tax in any previous year, the accounts of the trust or institution for that year have been audited by an accountant defined in explanation below to subsection 2 of Section 288 before the specified date referred to in Section 44AB, and the person in receipt of income furnishes by that date. So please understand, sir, the responsibility of Form 10B is that of a chartered accountant, that is through his ARCA login. He will file Form 10B. And from this responsibility, which has been duly, let's say, performed by the chartered accountant, whosoever is the auditor, the assessee does not get relief from 12A subsection 1 clause B. Assessee has to duly accept that Form 10B through his login, through its login also. And we have also seen few cases wherein what has happened, that 10B was uploaded by the chartered accountant. Unfortunately, that 10B was not accepted by the assessee trust. So that also caused a reason of demand against the assessee. So two things which we carry home from here under Section 12A, subsection 1 clause B, that one, when you are liable to get audited, you are liable to get audited when without considering 11 and 12, you exceed, that is your income exceeds maximum amount not chargeable to income tax. Say presently for assessment year 21-22, which we are filing returns presently, is 2.5 lakh. And it is also important for us to note that not only CA's filing is important, but the assessee, that is client's PAN, we should also accept, the client should also accept that particular Form 10B, which is uploaded by the chartered accountant. Now let me now show that, okay, what is the coverage of 10B? Of course, all of you must have gone through this particular Form 10B, but the coverage of 10B is one, the auditor's opinion regarding the true and fair view. So this is where we take on the responsibility. Then we have three annexures. One is relating to application of income for charitable religious purpose. Second one is government is asking you to provide for the details regarding application or use of income of property for benefit of person referred to in 13.3. And third one is investment held at any time during the previous year in concern in which the persons referred to in 13.3 have a substantial interest. So let's see them one by one. This is Form 10B, the first portion which I discussed, audit report under 12A B of Income Tax Act 1961 in respect of charitable or religious institution. So mind you, maybe you are a charitable institution, maybe you are a religious institution or a trust. If you are registered under Section 12AA or 12AB, you are liable to Form 10B if your total income without 11 and 12 exceeds maximum amount not chargeable to income tax. So here the chartered accountant is saying that, okay, we have examined the balance sheet and profit and loss account. We have obtained all information, explanation which to the best of our knowledge and belief were necessary. And in our opinion and to the best of our information according to information given to us, said account give a true and fair view regarding the balance sheet state of affairs, and in the case of profit and loss account, or the profit and loss of its accounting year. Mind you, my dear friends, a very important point which is important now is that since we have been filing in many a cases for maybe since years, you must have been filing Form 3CD, and in 3CD we were attaching or annexing the soft copy, that is scanned copy of the balance sheet and profit and loss. If I am correct, till last year, that is up to assessment year 2021, only Form 10B filing was there. There was no attachment in form of balance sheet and in form of income and expenditure account. But this year, 21-22, wherever you are filing Form 10B, you are also supposed to attach that particular balance sheet as well as income and expenditure account, which is duly audited by you with this particular Form 10B. So that is an important improvement which has taken place with effect from assessment year 21-22. Further in 10B, it is also mentioned that report has to be given by the chartered accountant. Now, very important point is this one, where any of the matters stated in this report is answered in negative or with a qualification, the report shall state the reasons for the same. So wherever the law has put up this responsibility on the CA to say that, okay, if you are giving anything in negative or you are putting up a qualification, then the reasons for same should also be mentioned. Okay. Now I come with you on this particular Form 10B, that is the operational part of it, that is part 2 of it, wherein we are supposed to mention the various details. This I have picked up from one of my clients, wherein we are filing Form 10B. This particular part 1 is application of income for charitable or religious purposes. Mind you, my dear friends, that as you all must agree with me, that Form 10B is not merely putting up the figures from the income and expenditure account. This requires the understanding of the chartered accountant from the perspective of provisions of section 11 and 12, both read together. Rather, I may say that you may sometime be required to refer to 115 BC, section 10 clause 23C. All these particular aspects are very important for us before understanding what figure we are trying to put up here. Say the first point, which is saying amount of income of the previous year applied to charitable or religious purposes in India during that year. So one of my friend, being a chartered accountant, he asked me, Mr. Bhatia, you tell me whether the capital nature expenses incurred for which we wish to claim the application of income would also be covered here. I said, why not? Of course. See, the whole concept of trust is deviating or differentiating to what we usually understand in the case of a normal commercial entity. That you all may agree with me, that in the case of a trust, we go by a different concept as compared to how we determine the total income of a commercial entity. That is, in the case of a charitable or religious institution, we are allowed to claim all expenses which are necessary to continue your charitableness or religious purpose related orientation. This may include revenue nature expenses and this may include capital nature expenses. So all these expenses would form part of this particular thing. That means that, say for example, in my income and expenditure account of the trust, I give you a hypothetical example. Say a trust received 2 crore rupees. Out of 2 crore rupees, the trust is supposed to accumulate maximum 15%, means 30 lakh. So what is remaining now in the hands of trust is 1 crore 70 lakh. Now let's say out of 1 crore 70 lakh, the trust has spent 70 lakh rupees on revenue expenses. So in income and expenditure account, you will find that 1 crore rupees would be appearing as surplus. Whereas trust says, Mr. Bhatia, for this year, we have spent 1 crore rupees on erection of a building, which will be used for furtherance of these charitable activity. So would that not be covering part of this amount of income of previous year applied to charitable religious purpose in India? Yes, certainly, sir, you may include it. However, you all must remember the provisions of section 11 subsection 6, which says that where the assessee is claiming the assets acquisition as application, then he will not be entitled, that is, it will not be entitled to claim the depreciation. Okay, that call is of the assessee. So we need to think at the time of filing of the ITR that from the perspective of section 11 subsection 6, what is beneficial to the assessee trust? Is it beneficial to claim the full amount of asset acquisition as application? Or is it better to claim the depreciation because already the other applications are there? So that call the assessee doesn't know, in my opinion. That is known by the chartered accountant who is filing Form 10B. So while you are determining Form 10B, your figure of application is very important. And mind you, my dear friends, in 143(1) criteria, like we have been seeing in past few years, wherever there is a tax audit applicability and in tax audit you made certain observation and you have put certain qualification, you have done some note to them, then assessee's return was processed under 143(1) with reference to your particular qualification. So while you put up certain figure of application here and that does not match with the application figure of the ITR, now whose point department will consider? CPC will consider the point of application which is informed by the chartered accountant under Form 10B. So it is really very critical for us to then fill up this particular column properly after understanding all the effects of what we are putting up here, whether it is matching with the return or not. That kind of guidance should be available from our side. Now I come up to point 2 of this particular discussion, which is the concept, my dear friends, of deemed application. Now, what is deemed application? You all must be knowing, but still for some understanding, better understanding, let me put up here that where the trust could not apply the full amount in a year, that is 85% could not be applied, then law gives two options to the assessee trust. Either you may claim deemed application or you may claim accumulation. Now, which should be claimed? This could also be a question which may come up before the chartered accountant, which is supposed to answer to his client. Okay, sir, you claim deemed application or you claim accumulation. Say, because you all know, say, for example, when I said that 2 crore rupees is received by the trust, and then out of 2 crore, 15% is free accumulation, 1 crore 70 lakh is remaining to be spent. Out of that, let's assume I say 70 lakh is only spent, so 1 crore is unspent. Now, trust may ask you that, okay, should we claim, let's say there is no capital expenditure on fixed asset even, and the whole 1 crore rupees is lying at the end of the year in the hands of the trust. So what should we do? What should we advise? Should we advise them for deemed application? Should we advise them for accumulation? So naturally, this is a very important aspect which should be discussed in a meeting with the board of the trust and the chartered accountant who is representing as an auditor. That, okay, if you are claiming deemed application where you have received the amount in the relevant financial year, then you are supposed to apply the same amount in the next financial year. So if trust says that, look, by the time you are going for an audit, usually 6 months time period is expired for the next financial year, and trust can oversee that, okay, we are in the position to say that last year amount remaining surplus, say 1 crore in my example, is already applied. So, okay, we may go for deemed application. Subject to this year's application also, that is another aspect to be considered. Secondly, if trust is of the object that whatever we are collecting, we will accumulate it for a specific purpose, then it is always better to go into the concept of accumulation. As you all know, that is covered under section 11 subsection 2. So I mean to say that it is not chartered accountant to decide that, okay, the trust would claim deemed application or trust would claim accumulation. It is us who is supposed to guide to the assessee that, look, following are the options in 11 subsection 1 explanation clause 2, and following is the option for accumulation under section 11 subsection 2. So you tell me, where do you want to put up the figure when you have not spent the 85% of the requirement? Somebody may ask me that, okay, Mr. Bhatia, let me know that whether the corpus donation would also be considered for the purposes of 11 subsection 1 explanation clause 2 or for the purposes of this specific accumulation, that is 11 subsection 2. My answer to that question, my dear friends, is that the corpus donation, what is the corpus donation? The donation which is received with a specific stipulation from the donor that this shall form part of corpus of the trust. The donor should have given a written statement to the trust that this shall form part of corpus of the trust. So if this kind of thing is available, this kind of statement or letter is available in the hands of the trust, that corpus donation, my dear friends, is fully exempt under section 12 subsection 2, and no need to bother about then you need not to bother about that particular amounts application, deemed application, accumulation at all. Now you may ask me that, okay, tell us what is this particular point 4 of Form 10B. So that is amount of income eligible for exemption under section 11 subsection 1 clause C. Usually you may not find this particular thing frequently available in the cases of the charitable or religious trust, but 11(1)C, my dear friends, it deals with a case where the trust is spending for charitable purposes, religious purposes out of India, which is usually barred, which is usually not allowed, but where the government of India has opened up a window to say that, okay, for an example, a tsunami in Sri Lanka or Indonesia you may spend, then that 11(1)(c) would be permitted. That is open window. Or where the trust was formed prior to 1952 and in the trust creation deed it was mentioned that, okay, this much of expense could be done on foreign welfare, then that is permissible, which is not a practical case. So suppose this fourth point is yes, then you are supposed to give the details of such particular amount in Form 10B. Further, sir. Point number 5 of Form 10B Part 1, amount of income in addition to the amount referred to in item 3 above, accumulated or set apart for specified purposes under 11 subsection 2. So where you are, the trust is putting up the accumulation, you are supposed to give this particular amount here specifically, which you are accumulating. 6, whether the amount of income mentioned in item 5 above has been invested or deposited in the manner laid down in 11 subsection 2 clause B, if so, details thereof. Sir, please understand a very important concept which is applicable in the case of trust. May it be 15% free accumulation, may it be specific accumulation which may go say up to 85%. All the amounts that is the investment of the trust would go only into 11 subsection 5 modes of investment. So while we being auditor, we should see that wherever trust is putting up extra money, usually you will find that trusts are creating their particular funds accumulated in FDs or in bank balances. Usually they are not even in the shares, and shares is usually, you can say, not allowed to them unless it is a PSU share. So what I'm trying to put up before you, that we as a auditor are supposed to see that the trust is having its investment into 11 subsection 5 only. Now you see with me this point number 7, whether any part of income in respect of which an option was exercised, sir, means in a preceding year, the assessee has exercised this particular option, exercised under clause 2 of explanation to 11(1) in any earlier year, is deemed to be income of the previous year under 11(1)(b), if so, details thereof. So let me explain here what is 11(1)(b) and what is non-compliance of 11(1) explanation clause 2. So this is that, say for example, in the assessment year 2021, assessee says that deemed application of 30 lakh, I'm just exemplifying, 30 lakh is there. Okay. Now when you are auditing for the assessment year 21-22, next assessment year, you should see that last year deemed application this year has been applied. If no, then you are supposed to put up here. And if there is no such particular remark, then in that case, you may say it is not applicable because in the preceding year, there was no deemed application concept. Further, sir, point number 8, whether during the previous year any part of income accumulated or set apart for specified purposes under 11(2) in any manner. Now, please note, this particular reporting is section 11 subsection 3 reporting. You may say what we can see is 11(2), why you are pointing out 11 subsection. Sir, 11 subsection 3 puts the restriction on 11 subsection 2's use. That is, that the amount of 11 subsection 2 can't be used for certain restricted purposes, or the amount should be kept in certain specific modes, as I was telling you 11(5). So it is asking you as an auditor to specify that whether there is a non-compliance on the part of trust from the point of view of 11 subsection 3. Let me read. Whether during the previous year any part of income accumulated set apart for a specified previous year under 11(2) in any year has been applied for purposes other than charitable religious purposes or has ceased to be accumulated set apart for application thereto. So we being the person who watches these particular things of the trust closely, they are supposed to report that the trust is not using the previous accumulations for non-charitable, non-religious purposes, or has ceased to remain invested in any security referred to in 11 subsection 2 clause B subclause 1, or deposited in any account referred to in 11(2)(b)(2) or section 11(2)(b)(3). Simply speaking, you need not to invest beyond 11(5). Third, has not been utilized for the purpose for which it was accumulated or set apart during the period for which it was so accumulated or set apart, or in the year immediately following expiry thereof. Mind you, my dear friend, sometime it may happen that, say, you have joined as a new auditor in place of a previous auditor after complying with all formalities. Then you are supposed to see that whether in the preceding 5 years, rather 6 years, there has been any accumulation claimed by the trust, and whether that accumulation which was claimed by the trust has been duly applied in the meanwhile period, or if the period was expiring in the current financial year, then whether the compliance is there on the part of trust for using that sum. If there is no such compliance, then you are supposed to report this particular figure here in point number 8, clause C. This is what I wanted to highlight. Now, you may have any questions on that we may discuss later if time will permit. Now I am putting up before you this particular portion. This is application or use in reference to 13(3) persons. See, 13(3) persons are the persons to which the laws looks into with a negative perspective. Negative perspective means that they are the persons who are attached to the trust usually in a substantial manner, either by way of their involvement into day-to-day operation, or they being so influential that they are the donors, they are the founder, or they are the relative of such related persons of 13(3). Then the chartered accountant is casted with the responsibility of finding out that whether the application or use of the trust funds is made for the benefit of 13(3) persons. Say, I give you an example. A person who is a trustee of the trust is also being paid salary of ₹50,000 a month. The question comes in the mind of the chartered accountant who is auditing, whether he is supposed to report here into section 13(3) related reporting of form 10B or not. Let me discuss this particular point. Whether any part of the income or property of the trust was lent or continues to be lent to the previous year. Now, where from these points are put up, my dear friend, they are duly mentioned into section 13 subsection 2. If you will see 13 subsection 2, it contains a list of cases where usually non-compliance may be considered from the point of view of 13(3) persons. So if you will read 13(2), you will get all these points there. Here the reporting of 10B, that is CA's reporting, is coming up. Whether any part of the income or property of trust was lent or continues to be lent in the previous year to any person referred to in 13(3). If so, give the details of the amount, rate of interest charged, and the nature of security. Say, for example, the trust is distributing education loan, and one of the trustees' son is also pursuing some education course for which the trust has funded the amount. Should that be needed to be reported here? Yes, certainly, sir. Whether any land, building, other property of the trust was made or continued to be made available for the use of any such person during the previous year. If so, give details of property and the amount of rent or compensation charged. See, sir, this is not a case of, okay, you are saying that there is a non-compliance only when I am reporting here. No. Even if, say, for example, a trustee son has been given a shop on rent by the trust at the rate ₹40,000 a month, which is fairly reasonable as compared to the market rate, or maybe equivalent to that. Do we need to report here? Yes, sir, we are needed to report here. So please understand, it is not a non-compliance which you are reporting here. You are reporting even the static information from the perspective of the clause. Whether any payment was made to any such person during the previous year by way of salary, allowance, otherwise, if so, give the details. So as I was quoting, and please understand, sir, I would not say that you can't pay salary, you can't pay remuneration to trustee or any manager or any related person of them, but such a case should be reasonable, looking into the market conditions, looking into the fairness of the situation. And if there is such payment, auditor is responsible to mention those details, like with the serial number, detail of the person, then the amount which was paid, so that if tomorrow a scrutiny takes place, department will be able to point out. And it is similar, in my opinion, like what you report in tax audit under 40A2, that similar thing which we do here in form 10B, whether the services of the trust were made available to any such person during the previous year. If so, give the details thereof together with remuneration, compensation received. So if any of these related person of 13(3), specified person of 13(3) has availed any particular benefit in form of any services of the society or the trust, you are supposed to mention them here. Whether any share, security, other assets on behalf of trust during the previous year from any such person have been acquired, if so, give the details together with consideration. Say the trustee or the founder has sold certain land to the trust, which was his own land, then whether that transaction is there. If yes, you are supposed to report here. Then whether any share, security. See, this remark column is very important, my dear friend. Suppose you want to put up a remark here. What kind of remark would you put up here? That the stamp duty value, let's assume, of the property was 50 lakh rupees, and the purchase of the property, let's assume, has happened at 65 lakh rupees. It can be treated as a negative remark. I'm not saying that here the implications of section 56, subsection 2, clause 10, or like that of 50C would apply. But yes, from that point of view, this remark could be seen. Whether any share, security, other property was sold when you are selling the property of the trust. Yet I understand, and you would agree with me, that such kind of transaction are very isolated transaction, not very frequent transaction. But still, if they are there, my submission to you is that yes, we are supposed to report those particular transactions here in this particular 10B. Further, it is mentioned that this particular point is regarding where any of the assets of the trust have been appropriated in favor of such person, then together with amount of income, value of property which is so diverted, you are supposed to give the detail. Whether the income or property of trust were used or applied during the previous year for the benefit of such person in any other manner, whatever manner, if the trust property has been used or applied during the previous year, you are supposed to mention them here. Now, third portion. Investment in the concern in which the person referred to in 13.3 have a substantial interest. Sir, my observation on this particular topic is that usually you will not find that the trust is allowed to make the investment to those entities wherein 13.3 person has a substantial interest, usually, because 11 subsection 5 has a specific mode of investment. So you can't give usually to 13.3 persons who are usually individuals or who are usually individuals' relatives who would be covered into 11.5 category. So practically you would not find it there. Practically you would not find it there. But if there is such particular item which you find by way of your observation of audit, you are supposed to share them here. Now let me discuss with you certain key provisions which are relating to the trust aspect, that okay, how they impact. And as I was mentioning you, my dear friends, that what you are supposed to understand as a chartered accountant, let me give you a brief idea of the same, which you all understand, I know. We should understand in depth detail of 11, that is 11 subsection 1, which covers the concept of application, deemed application. 11 subsection 1A, which covers the concept of capital gain earned by a trust. 11 subsection 1B, which makes the taxation of the deemed application which is not used. 11 subsection 2, which deals into the accumulation concept. 11 subsection 3, which puts the restriction on the charitable institution and religious institution for not using the accumulated funds in violation of the law. 11 subsection 3A, which permits the trust to use the accumulated fund by way of giving it to other trust where it is getting dissolved, or for other purpose where the purpose for which it was accumulated could not be now obtained, or maybe there is a stay or injunction of the court kind of thing. Further, 11 subsection 4, which deals into the corpus business of the trust. 11.4A deals into incidental business. 11.5 we have discussed into the investment modes of the trust. 11.6, you can't claim depreciation and actual cost both as application. 11.7 says in computing the total income of the trust, you will not give the exemption benefit of section 10 of any other income which is in the hands of trust except section 10.1, that is agriculture income, and except 10 clause 23C. And this debate has been going on for years. Now I put up before you once again, say there is a charitable trust which is also maintaining a school, and that charitable trust which is doing charity in the school, it has gross receipt of 80 lakh rupees. Say 70 lakh rupees is the spending, 10 lakh rupees is left over. So whether that 10 lakh rupees can be claimed exempt under section 10 clause 23C subclause 3AD, answer to that question in my opinion, my dear friends, is yes. So if that 10 lakh you want to exclude by way of reference of this 11 subsection 7, in my opinion, it can be done. Let me also explain here. While we are covering this portion of education entity or maybe a hospital, you all know that Finance Act 21, that is assessment year 22-23 onwards, 1023C clause 3AD and 3AE institution, which are smaller institution which had a gross receipt amount of rupees 1 crore, has now been increased by the Finance Act 21 to rupees 5 crore, but clubbed together for all such institutions run by a society, run by a trust, run by a public, run by a company, section 8 company, etc. So it means that up to assessment year 21-22, the limit is 1 crore per institution. With effect from assessment year 22-23, it will be 5 crore for all such institutions. Further, sir, computation of amount of application for public charitable religious purposes, as I said, that you are supposed to take care about all these particular aspects, which we are considering from the point of view of taxation of the trust. I would like to highlight section 13 subsection 9, which is a very important point for your understanding. That is, nothing contained in subsection 2 of section 11, that is accumulation, shall operate so as to exclude any income from the total income of the previous year of a person and receipt thereof, if the statement referred to in clause A of the said subsection in respect of such income is not furnished on or before due date is specified under subsection 1 of 139 for furnishing return of income for the previous year. What does it mean? Sir, please understand, you all know that when that is a case of 11 subsection 2 accumulation, a form 10 needed to be filed by the trust. Now this form 10 must be filed before the expiry of 139(1) period. If you would not file it before 139(1) expiry, say for example, assessment year 21-22, the last date stands extended to 15th of March 2022. So if you would not file that form number 10, then even if in the return you are claiming that this is accumulation, even if form 10B, the CA is saying that, okay, this is accumulation, the assessee will not be entitled to avail that particular benefit. So we need to be very cautious. Either when we are helping the assessee in filing up the return, this should be ensured, or if the assessee is doing on his own, assessee should take care about this particular aspect of 13 subsection 9. And if the return, further it is written, the return of income for previous year is not furnished by such person on or before due date is specified in subsection 1. This is another compliance, my dear friend. If you are claiming accumulation, now there could be two combinations. Say form 10 is filed, ITR not filed. ITR filed, form 10 is not filed. So what the law is asking you? Law is saying there should be both of them. You should file form 10 where it is a case of accumulation, and you should also file your ITR 7, that is ITR form, within 139 month period. If both of these conditions, my dear friends, are complied with, then only the assessee trust is eligible to claim the exemption of 11 and 12 and 11 subsection 2. Now, when I said then only assessee is entitled to avail the exemption of section 11 and 12, one more question which came into my mind. Some of my friends asked me that, say for example, the assessment year 21-22, the last date is 15th of March 2020, and that date a trust misses. The question comes that whether such particular trust, even if they miss that particular date, but they are duly registered under section 12AA or 12AP, are they entitled to avail 11 and 12 or no? Only by way of filing, not filing a return or filing a belated return, would they continue to enjoy the exemption of section 11 and 12? My answer to them is, sir, no. Because if you will read with me the provisions of section 12A, which is a very important section, my dear friends, from the perspective of a chartered accountant, this particular section 12A, clause BA very specifically reads, I am reading for your reference, and I will read it from the title, that is title of section 12A, condition for applicability of section 11-12. I would first read first three lines of subsection 1 and then I'll come to clause BA. This first three line were, the provisions of section 11-12 shall not apply in relation to the income of trust or institution unless following conditions are fulfilled. This clause BA, my dear friend, this clause BA was inserted by Finance Act 2017, not a new law, previously prevailing law, but sometimes we forget. Clause BA says the person in receipt of income has furnished the return of income for the previous year in accordance with provisions of subsection 4A of 139 within the time allowed under that section. So if you are not furnishing the return, then in that case, probably you will lose the exemption of section 11 and 12 for the relevant financial year. The other question comes when you are not filing the return in time, but you are filing a belated return. Would that still make you ineligible to claim the benefit of section 11 and 12? Very important question. I would read it. The person in receipt of the income has furnished the return of income for the previous year in accordance with provisions of subsection 4A of 139 within the time allowed under that section. Now, if I read the allowed under that section, means 139(4) would also be belated return time period would also be covered. So that is an area where the debate may be there. in my opinion, we should try our level best to file the return in time. And if the return is not filed, then even the belated return filing, in my opinion, may cover. But if you read section 139(4)(a), 139(4)(a), I would like to read for your reference, which says, every person in receipt of income derived from property held under trust or other legal obligation, etc., in respect of which he is assessable as a representative assessee, the total income for this purpose being computed without giving effect to provision of 11(12), exceeds the maximum amount which is not chargeable to income tax, furnish a return of such income of the previous year in the prescribed form, verified in the prescribed manner, setting forth such other particular, and all the provision of this act shall so far as may be applied, as if it were a return required to be furnished under subsection. Means 139(4)(a), my dear friends, is asking to file the return as if the return was required to be filed under subsection 1. So my opinion, I am of the view, even if there is a belated return, prima facie the assessee should be available to claim the benefit of 11 and 12. Yet we should try our level best that this kind of controversy does not arise. So that is a safer side advice which I am putting up here. Now, let me also highlight filing of other forms by the trust and audit aspects. See, you all know for deemed application, Form 9A to be filed and Form 10 is filed for accumulation. What are the due dates for the above form? My dear friend, there are three forms which you can see with me in this presentation. One is Form 10B, that is for the auditor. The due date for the financial year 2021, assessment year 21-22 is 15th of Feb. And where it is Form 9A and 10, the due date is 139(1). That is 15th of March 2022 for the assessment year 21-22. So I hope that all 10Bs are duly uploaded by 15th of Feb and all Form 9A and 10 along with return are duly uploaded by 15th of March. A very important takeaway. Now let me put up the language of Form 9A also for your reference. Let me quickly show it to you. Application for exercise of option under clause 2 of explanation to subsection 1 of section 11 to the assessing officer I. Now who will file? It is not CA. It is the assessee who is filing it from his own portal. Please understand, 9A is to be filed by the assessee. 10 is to be filed by the assessee. Only Form 10B needed to be filed by the CA to be accepted by the client. The AO, I on behalf of so and so do hereby wish to exercise the option of referred to in clause 2 of explanation to subsection 1 of section 11 of income tax for an amount. Here you are supposed to put up the amount to be deemed to be income applied for charitable religious purposes during the previous year, say 2021, for the reason mentioned below. Here they are supposed to ask the reason mentioned in B below, that we will discuss. The detail of income in this regard is the amount of income derived from property held under trust, held in trust in part during the above mentioned previous year. You are supposed to put up the full amount. Amount of income actually applied, this should match with Form 10B. Amount of income referred to in 2 that falls short of 85% of the income referred to in, this is where you will try to claim deemed application. Amount of income in respect of which option being exercised. Now here, say for example, of that 2 crore case, we are supposed to apply 1 crore 70 lakh rupees. We are short by 1 crore. So falling short 1 crore. Let's say out of 1 crore, I want to claim 40 lakh only deemed application, because balance 60 I would claim accumulation. So I may put up here 40 lakh rupees only. The reasons for shortfall in application of income are as under. Please understand there are two propositions. One, either you have received the amount but you could not apply, or you did not receive the amount but you want to claim a deemed application because you have booked the income. This is possible only when the trust is following accrual system of accounting. Whether the income was not received during the previous year, if you say yes, then if yes, the amount of income, say for example, FD interest, which you have not received, how would you apply that? So you are supposed to claim a deemed application, assuming that you are going to receive it either in the next year, or if you will receive it, say after 5 years, then you will apply that particular amount after 5 years. Any other reason where you have received the amount but you could not apply, then you are supposed to specify reason for shortfall. Say for example, amount received at 11th hour. Okay, the trustee board somehow could not meet to decide the usage at all. This is what you are supposed to mention as an assessment. And then further assessee will sign and upload it. Let me now put up before you this particular Form 10, statement to be furnished to the AO, that is the prescribed authority, under subsection 2 of section 11 of the income tax There is accumulation to the AO prescribed authority. I would highlight it is to be filed by the assessee on behalf of say trust. Permanent account number hereby bring to your notice that it has been decided by a resolution. Please understand, sir. Law is asking you that there should be a resolution passed by trustee governing board by whichever name called on such and such date. Now, if suppose during the course of assessment, AO says that, okay, you must have passed the resolution for 11 to give me copy thereof, and you say as a trust, sir, we did not pass any resolution. You are saying we passed a resolution. Okay. There at the time of assessment, unfortunately, you say we did not pass a resolution. Then that will be totally absurd position and give the opportunity to the AO to make an addition. So please understand, the law is asking for a resolution to be passed in this respect. This is basically not the law, a delegated law, that is the rule. Even if it is not written in 11 subsection 2, we may then challenge it. But it gives them an opportunity to raise an agitation, to raise a demand. So why to go into that? Let's pass a resolution. That is my suggestion. By whatever name called on such and such date, that out of the income of the trust or institution, 11 to assessment year, amount of rupees so and so, which is so and so percentage of the income of trust or institution shall be accumulated or set apart for carrying out purpose. The detail of the amount, purpose, period is as under. Please understand, my dear friend. Here you are supposed to mention the period also. Just a minute. The purpose for which amount is being accumulated or set apart. We should try our level best that we are putting up the exact purpose, say construction of building, say acquisition of land, say development of the hospital, say development of an orphanage, development of an old age home. Please try to be specific. Then the amount and the period of accumulation, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. I hope you all would appreciate this particular point, that once the period of accumulation is opted for, say 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, you can't enhance it. So at the first set, my suggestion to you is that you propose an accumulation for 5 year. Then even if you spend prior to 5 year, nobody will stop you. So 5 year is suggestive mode. The amount so accumulated, set apart, has been invested or deposited in any one or more of the form or mode specified. This is also what the assessee is declaring, that we have invested the amount in 11.5. It is further brought to your notice that SAT so and so trust had, in respect of assessment year preceding 11th assessment year, given the statement regarding accumulation. Now please understand, this point number 3, my dear friends, of form number 10 is giving the position of what we accumulated previously. So that is here, wherein what we'll mention, okay, what was the year of accumulation, what was the date of filing of form 10, whether the what was the amount which was accumulated, period for which it was accumulated, amount applied up to the end of previous year, remaining for application, and deemed to be income within 13.11.3, which the CA must have reported in form 10B. These items should be filled up here. Then further, sir, this particular point is also there, like sometime I could not see the screen, that's why. This point number 4 is, it is also brought to your notice that out of the income detailed in 3 above, due to order or injunction of the court, the income as detailed below could not be applied for the purpose for which it was accumulated. So say if a land which was supposed to be acquired for the purposes of a furtherance of the activities of the trust somehow gets into trouble by way of a stay, etc., then you are supposed to mention here that if you accumulated funds for that particular land's development, then you may mention that, okay, what was the amount of income, what was the year in which it was accumulated, what was the period for which it could not be applied, during which it could not be applied due to order of the court, and the details of the court order. So this is what you are supposed to mention here further. So this is what I discussed with you, is the concept of form number 9A and form number 10. Now deemed application, accumulation vis-a-vis audit. Yet I have discussed this particular point previously also, but I am simply highlighting here that please understand, my dear friend, we as a CA are supposed to report these aspects in form 10B, and the assessee for its own should report them by way of form 9A or form 10, as the case may be, for a safer and proper ensurance of the compliance of the law. Tax rate vis-a-vis audit, in my opinion, sir, from the tax rate perspective, form 10B has no coverage at all. CA is not supposed to specify which tax rate assessee would be covered. But I thought, okay, let's discuss a small portion of that here. Yet Form 10B has no specific tax rate related provision in it. Yet the tax rate aspect of various income expense items should be discussed with the client. The tax rate of the trust may arise out of the following provision. 1. Suppose you cannot apply the full 85% of the amount. You also can't claim deemed application or accumulation for some reason. Then there are judgments which say that trust should be treated at par with an individual. So the normal rate taxation, that is slab rate taxation, should be available to the trust. However, unfortunately, while CPC creates a demand, it straight away creates the demand at 30% rate. So we may agitate that no, such taxation of not applied amount should be as per the normal rate. Then tax on anonymous contribution, the concept of 115 BBC is very important. I would like to highlight here one point, my dear friends, for your reference, which you must be aware about. 115 BBC says that of the total donation, you would calculate 5% of total donation or 1 lakh, whichever is higher. Above that amount, whichever is higher, above that amount, whatever anonymous donation is there, of that anonymous donation, 115 BBC, 30% would apply in the case of charitable institutions. Religious are exempt from 115 BBC. Now a question comes that this 5% of total donation or 1 lakh is less, whichever is high, of this amount. Say in the case of a trust, this amount comes to 20 lakh and the trust total received anonymous donation 50 lakh. So you would say that, okay, out of this particular amount, 20 lakh rupees is one which is not covered in BBC, and 30 lakh rupees which is covered in BBC, 30% tax rate would be paid. What about this 20 lakh rupees, my dear friend? That is a very important question. This 20 lakh rupees, which is within this 5% donation limit, should be forming part of your income, which is on the radar of section 11, subsection 1, subsection 2, and so on. That is, I mean to say, that amount is not a straight away exempt. That amount would be exempt, that 5% or 1 lakh, whichever is higher amount, would be exempt subject to the conditions of section 11 and 12. This is my opinion. Further, tax on utilization of income or asset of the trust for 13.3%. You know, this budget government has proposed that there will be penalty also. First default 100%, second default onwards 200%. One has to be cautious. God forbid, a trust should not fall into the concept of tax on accreted income 115 TD. Very harsh section, sir. And if a trust falls into that, then nobody can save them to pay the tax on the fair market value of the asset. So this is one important point. Now let me discuss some portion of the return related aspect of the trust also, which you may be interested in knowing. This is ITR 7, as we all know, that institutions which are covered under 139 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D are liable to file ITR 7. A very interesting question which arises here is, what about section 1023C clause 3AD or subclause 3AD or 3A institution, like education institution, medical institution not exceeding 1 crore gross receipt level? Are they also liable to file ITR 7? Yes, sir. For them, the eligible section is 139 4C and ITR is ITR 7. I will discuss that here. Now, if you see this particular portion, which I have put up before you, there are reportings which the assessee is supposed to tell in the ITR. I would not say it is CA's reporting, it is client's reporting, but naturally we being instrumental in helping in filing ITR also, so we need to take care about this particular guidance. Whether any project institution is run by the assessee, if yes or no, then you are supposed to give the details. If there is yes, that which project is being run, what is the nature of activity, and what are the relevant classification of the same. We are also supposed to provide detail of registration approval under income tax mandatory if required to be registered. Like somebody may claim, sir, should I put up 12A, 12AA registration or 12BA? Sir, you may, if you are registered under new regime, then you may put up 12BA. If you are not yet registered under 12BA, you are registered under 12AA, you may put up 12AA. I don't see any problem. Detail of registration or approval under any law other than income tax, like you may be registered under Societies Act or Trust Act, whatever that you are, or Companies Act, you are supposed to provide it here. Further, sir, this is important, sir. Like Shailesh ji was discussing a point that what is a charitable purpose under section 2 clause 15, and you all know that charitable purpose from the eyes of income tax law includes relief to poor, medical, education, yoga, conservation of environment, conservation or preservation of natural resources, wildlife, watersheds, etc., and places of historical interest, monuments, etc. And last but very wide category is object of any other object of general public utility. So the reporting here is important. When you find that a trust is into the category of, or it is also doing into activity into the nature of advancement of any other object of general public utility, you are supposed to mention whether there is any activity in the nature of trade, commerce, business referred to in proviso to 250. Only when the trust is covered in general public utility. Then you will put up here yes. If yes, then you are supposed to provide, okay, what is the percentage of receipt from such activity vis-a-vis total receipt? Say, for example, a trust is running some particular Gaushala, and in Gaushala, they are also selling certain milk which is produced in that Gaushala. Then that Gaushala may be covered as general public utility. One, that is a debatable issue. Suppose then they are selling the milk. This selling of the milk may fall into trade commerce business. Yes, you are supposed to compare the percentage. See, this percentage should not exceed 20%. If it will go beyond 20%, you are not eligible for that year under section 11 and 12. Further, whether there is any activity of rendering of any services in relation to trade, commerce, business, any consideration, okay, then you are supposed to say if yes, then yes, otherwise no. If yes, you are supposed to give the percentage also. Again, it is mentioned if A or B is yes, then aggregate annual receipt from such activity in respect of that institution should also be mentioned. Further, sir, are you liable for audit? Then you are supposed to mention that, okay, if 10B is applicable, then under which section we are liable for audit and who is the auditor, that details is supposed to be given. Further, sir, 10 clause 23C and accumulation related aspect, details of the amount accumulated set apart within the meaning of 11.2 or in terms of third proviso. What they are asking, they are giving you the preceding year's detail and they are saying, okay, what was the amount accumulated in the year? What was the purpose? What is the amount which is applied for charitable purposes up to the beginning of previous year? Amount invested or deposited in the mode specified in 11.5. Amount applied for charitable religious purposes during the previous year. Balance amount available for application and the amount deemed to be income under 11.3. This is very important from ITR perspective, where there is in a preceding year some accumulation. Further, my dear friend, what is covered here is statement showing the funds and a statement as on the last day of the previous year to be filled if registered under 12A, 12AA. Now here you are supposed to tell them, okay, what was the corpus balance at the end of the previous year and what is the balance in the non-corpus fund. Non-corpus means voluntary funds. If there is a balance, you may put up it there. Suppose there is a negative balance and the form does not allow you, then you may fill the zero amount. Detail of investment deposit under 11.5, you are supposed to tell them that, okay, wherever the trust has invested in 11.5 modes, which are the sources, investment in, which are the investment modes, government saving scheme, post office, scheduled bank, UTI or any other investment. Next one is again a very important aspect, sir. You are supposed, and this is a mandatory filing for 12AA institution, 1023C, clause 3, clause 6 and 6 institution. Voluntary contribution to be mentioned, corpus fund donation which you have received during the year. Other than corpus fund donation in form of grant received from government, grant received from companies, other under social, corporate social responsibility, CSR, other specific grants and other donation. You are also supposed to inform what is the foreign contribution which you have received and regarding corpus, non-corpus, etc. Anonymous contribution detail are also supposed to be provided here. Now, thereafter, we have the details regarding amount of income derived during the previous year, excluding voluntary contribution. That is income by way of your incidental activity, income by way of some fees, etc. Say in the case of a school, the fees they are charging will be treated to be receipt from main object. Okay. In the case of Gaushala, it is the sale of milk is not main object, but it is incidental object. The rent, commission, dividend income, interest income, agriculture income, net consideration on transfer of capital asset, all are being fulfilled here, my dear friend. Then you are also supposed to tell them, okay, what is the expense amount? Now these expenses, my dear friend, are divided into two portions. One is revenue expense and second is capital expenses. Revenue expenses are those which are relating to establishment and administrative expenses, which may be in the form of rent, repair, compensation to employee, insurance, workmen, staff, entertainment and hospitality, advertisement. We should be very cautious about filling up these particular figures, because while a scrutiny takes place, all these figures are specifically asked for by the department usually. Okay, tell us where from you derive this particular figure. Further, sir, this detail is continuing. Expenditure on the object of trust or institution. This is second point from the application. Donation which you have given. Corpus donation other than corpus donation. Please mind you, sir, the law was amended by the Finance Act 2020, that is assessment year 21-22, that when you receive the contribution and you want to give it to other institution, you can't give corpus contribution. So suppose somebody mentions an amount here. Now what will happen? This particular amount may be added in 143(1) processing. So one should understand what is the implication of putting up a figure in this form. Then apart from donation where you spent on religious purpose, now say a charitable trust mentioning for religious purpose, naturally there will be some problem which will be arising in this case. Relief to poor, education, yoga, medical relief, preservation of environment, general public utility, preservation of monuments, etc. to be filled up. Any disallowances which government is saying, okay, this we will not permit to you. Bad debts, provision and any other disallowable expenses which you are reporting yourself. Total revenue expenses. Then you see this E point, sources of fund to meet revenue expenditure. You are also being told to provide, okay, what was the source of your expenditure? Income derived from property, income deemed as application, income of earlier year up to 15% accumulation, borrowed fund. Everything you are supposed to put up here, sir. Say for example, a trust is in loss and has done some particular expenditure by way of borrowing unsecured loan. You are supposed to put up here, because you know that Finance Act 2021 has made an amendment, and that borrowed fund related amendment would start working here. So reporting of these things is very important, my dear friend. Next point is regarding whether amount applied to charitable religious purpose in India or stated object from the trust or institution during the previous year to capital account. Like say you have spent on the assets, addition to capital work in progress, acquisition of capital asset, cost of new asset, which you are claiming exempt under 11(1)(a), other capital expenses, and what are the sources to meet the capital expenditure. This you are supposed to inform in your ITR form. This is continuing. Further, sir, this I said in the beginning, I will highlight it to you, that where you are claiming the benefit of 1023C clause 3AB or 1023C clause 3AC, that is educational or medical institution whose gross receipt does not exceed 1 crore for the financial year 2021. They are supposed to put up, okay, what is the object? Are you educational or medical? What is the address where the activity you are carrying out? Total receipt, including any voluntary contribution, government grant, amount applied for the objective, and balance accumulated. This you may fill up here. So this is from my side, I completed, my dear friend. But if there is any other question, I am ready. We may discuss. My co-speaker would also be there. So we may discuss if there is any question. I hope that I have tried to do justice with the topic, and your questions are most welcome. Any questions, if admin?
Is there is a question in chat box, sir. In case of
Okay.
section 8 company, ITR 6 is filed,
Hmm.
but how to claim exemption of section 11 as that is registered regarding under section 12AB, 12W and 12AB?
Sir, in my opinion, if that company is registered, I have not filed any such particular case, so hand-on experience I may not be having here. Ideally,
I think,
in
sir,
my
the
opinion,
form
it
is
should have been
wrongly
ITR
filed.
7.
Yes, sir, the form is wrongly filed. They have to file ITR 7 and form 10B is to be filed along with that.
Yes.
It is suggested just revise the return as early as possible.
Right.
I think person is there. I don't know.
You're right.
The question is asked by, maybe is right now hearing or not. I don't know. The question answer is that yes, we have to revise the return in ITR 7 and 10B is to be filed together to claim the benefit. Otherwise, benefit will not be allowed.
Right.
Wrong form is selected and there is no mercy. My department. One more question, I think it was linked with me, beneficiary. One was asking about definition of beneficiary.
Okay.
Uh,
With what perspective this beneficiary being asked for?
I think I have shared the information that the object clause and the beneficiary.
Hmm.
So I can explain that beneficiary is the person or person at large who are going to get the benefit of that organization's motto. What the main meaning of establishment of that organization.
Hmm.
So that is the point that we are having a view to get the benefit. Just like we can say ICI having an organization and this organization is doing the work for CA members and CA students. So this is the vision of this organization. In the same manner, if any person going to introduce any NGO, they have to define the beneficiary. That could be public at large or that could be a part of public. If it is linked with part of public or a person specified, then it will convert it as a private trust. That will be treated as a private trust by income tax department as well as others also. We are having a lot of minor trusts. These all are private beneficiary trusts. That is also part of private beneficiary and that is not NGO. And these are private beneficiary. I think the main purpose of asking was that that person, but right now maybe he's here or not, I don't know.
Right. Sir.
One again question for a company PAN ITR 7 is not allowed, sir.
Hmm.
I think chat box में जो अभी continue question था उसी पे continue question है. Company PAN is there, ITR 7 is not allowed.
Hmm.
Technical query. At the time of PAN application, they have selected corporate.
Actually, what is happening, Shailesh ji, unfortunately, the form is prevailing over law many a times.
Yes.
And since the form is prevailing, so that basically disturbs the complete rhythm of the law. The ITR 7 should be permitted in the case of Section 8 companies. That would be a right treatment because ITR 7 is dedicatedly made for 11 and 12 related treatment. Otherwise, suppose in ITR 6 you are filing, you are simply supposed to claim that, okay, in exempt income, you may put 11 and 12 income and then come out of this. Suppose if they are not allowing this person, my friend, if they are not allowing you, then in ITR 6, you need not to give. But again, he will object me that, no, sir, in ITR 6, they are asking me to give the balance sheet detail to fill up the profit and loss account. So these are the kind of issues which are because of the form related consequences, the form related aspect. Law, in my opinion, is very clear. If you are registered under Section 12AA12AB, the ITR form applicable to you is ITR 7.
Yes. Anubya, I can mention there one thing also. There is a technical default. The could possible the person who is asking this query, the member who is asking this query, has generated the code in their software as a company, not as a AOP trust. If they will try as incorporate this client as a AOP trust instead of company, they will able to file Form 10. Form 10B along with Form 7. 99% they will file. In a software, there is restriction when you select a mode: individual, firm, company, trust, AOP trust. There are 5-6 methods has been described in their all softwares. When we select ITR, when we select as a company, the software itself give a form ITR 6 because he is treating it as a corporate, not as a NGO. As and when we are registered as a NGO, software को नहीं पता आप company NGO हो क्या. Software is not knowing the information. We are giving the database to have that what form to be prepared. They are supporting as per our information. So अपन ने जल्दी जल्दी किया उसको ITR देखना नहीं था. ITR की जगह अपन ने देखा कंपनी है, कंपनी में incorporate कर दिया. This is the technical default which have been done by that member or the person who are filing the return. They should try with the new mode. Just create a new entity with AOP trust. And they will able to file because I am also filing the company's return who are NGO and the fourth alphabet is also C.
Very good.
So this is
Probably this
tactically
advice
not
may be
done at a
helpful.
part of formation of the company in software. Definitely this will rule out because 99% company का MOA आते ही department PAN will allot C alphabet. Because NGO is different thing. They are considering as a company, that is as a corporate, so that they can allot as a form. Article 4th alphabet will be C. So if they will try with this form, they will definitely the result.
No, certainly it may be possible that way. Let him try. Now, there is one more question which I can see. That was regarding whether the filing of the, at the time of filing Form 10B, is it required that Form 9 and Form 9A or Form 10 should have been filed? I don't see any such requirement on the part of the CA should be there. Ideally, it should happen, because how the CA would be satisfied that yes, there is a deemed application, there is an accumulation which is claimed by the trust. So, Shailesh, practically it may be possible that I uploaded Form 10B and the client forgot to upload Form 9A or 10. Then who will be in trouble? The client will be in trouble.
Yes. This is the difficulty of the client. They have to explain the things. In 10B, is there any option to declare the deemed applications?
10B we are giving now.
We are
CA is
explaining this
specifying
deemed
that okay,
application.
this is
11
deemed
to come
application.
claim there. We are filing 11 to information. And
Hmm.
if the client forgot to file on time or file after time, there is only
He will
one way,
lose.
condonation.
You will lose.
There is only one way.
Only condonation. You are
Yes, only condonation. They have to apply to CC exemption. There is no another way, I think. One
Right.
more question, sir. Interest related to corpus has been treated as part of corpus. Is it right?
See,
the question is,
I-
the query is that interest related to corpus has been treated as part of corpus. TDS has been deducted on the said interest. What they want to ask.
I tell you, Shailesh, this question assumes importance in the way that, say, for example, you donated 20 lakh rupees to my institution, saying that, Mr. Bhatia, this is the corpus donation, and interest on this will also be corpus donation. The trust itself cannot treat any income as corpus.
Yes.
So, unless you deliberately say that, no, for next 5 years, you will receive the interest, that will also be corpus. I would not call it a corpus contribution. I would call it a stipulation.
Yes.
That there is a stipulation, because corpus donation word is used in the law, and corpus donation means what has been donated. The further income could not be said to be under the direction of that person who is donating. Ideally, it should not be so happening. So at the time of accepting a donation, what kind of language is used, that is also very important. In my opinion, the language should be, okay, this I am donating, don't spend it, use its interest. So you have to leave the interest to my discretion, or you have to leave the other income to my discretion as a trust. If you will say that, okay, you will not spend this, you will also not spend its interest, then what is the purpose of giving that particular donation?
Yes, obvious. We cannot control the vision of that person. Vision. So the question can be based on the technical query, means depend on the person to person's question.
Yes.
Answer can be depend on person's question. In general, interest is compulsorily to be treated as a revenue, not a corpus fund. This is my opinion. Whatever amount earned as an interest should be treated as interest income from other sources, revenue income, not a corpus income. Until unless specifically not defined by the corpus provider. And it's very
But
difficult to manage.
one thing, Shailesh, which we should clarify for all of us, even for me, that a trust does not have this discretion to decide that, okay, we will treat the corpus related income forming part of corpus fund. Even if you do so, you in accounting it is possible. I would not deny that. Even if you do so, that interest would form part of your income. Now, if you are saying that I did not receive that interest, I would say claim deemed application. Then there is a solution for the same, and
Yes.
you claim the refund.
I think, okay, one more question. In ITR 7 schedule EC, what is the difference in point 1 and point 2?
In schedule?
Schedule EC.
Okay, let me see. What is the difference in point number?
1 and 2.
Point number 1 and point 2. Okay. Schedule EC is regarding this particular thing. Amount applied to charitable religious purpose in India or for the stated objects of the trust or institution during previous year capital account. One is addition to capital work in progress, for which exemption under 11(1)(a) has not been claimed, and two is acquisition of capital asset not claimed earlier as application of income and for which exemption has not been claimed. So what is here, my dear friends? Say for example, a temple is under construction. So last year you put up 5 crore rupees on construction, still the building is not constructed. This year you have put up additional 3 crore rupees. That is capital work in progress because the building work has not yet completed. And the acquisition of capital asset where you say, for example, you purchase a crane itself, you purchase a JCB itself. So that would fall into this particular point number 2. Hope it is clear.
Yes, one more question. Original Form 10B was filed on time, but Form 10B was revised. Now department is not considering the revised form and the demand has been created. The 10B is not filed.
See, my dear friend, there is no provision in the law for revision of Form 10B. So what may happen, like there is no provision in the law for revision of tax audit,
Yes.
but still chartered accountants have time and
We can
again
revise.
revised their 3CD. Unfortunately, in the case of revising of Form 10B, which happens after the period of the prescribed for this particular 10B filing, probably department or CPC may say that, okay, we don't accept that. That could be one problem. Otherwise, I don't see any problem if due to genuine circumstances, we are revising. The revised one should be accepted by the department.
I think technical mistake is there. Department is considering 10B revised as a final form, or 10B's revised date is considered as a date of filing 10B form. So that department software calculating that the 10B form are filed, 10B form filed after due date. Therefore, they disallowed the benefit.
So that is the kind of issue which might be appearing here, Shailesh ji.
Yes,
Yes.
they can file rectification, or you can go for appeal also. The benefit will be there because 10B's date should be considered as the original date. Revised form is only a clarification, not a changing the date, because we are not having any intention to mislead the information, but we are rectifying just a clerical mistake. So I think benefit is there. The person should apply for person should apply for rectification. If rectification not successful, just file appeal before get appeal for against rectification order. 99% they will get the benefit.
Now, one more question, Shailesh ji. Can a trust donate to other trust?
There is no foundation.
My dear friends, you can donate to other trust. That is, a trust can donate to other trust in the same year. Accumulated funds can't be donated to other trust. However, where you receive the donation and you want to donate to other trust, you can't give corpus donation. You can give only voluntary donation to them. So that is an important point which you may take care of.
We can elaborate in the manner that yes, you can donate, but what benefit you want with donation? If you want to treat as an application, then that should not be corpus donation. Then only you can apply as an application. Only tax benefit will be available for that which has been not treated as a corpus for other trust. Right. Then you can get the tax benefits. Otherwise, donation is no issue. I think queries are resolved.
Then Ashok Goyal ji ka hand raised hai, Anil ji ka hand raised hai.
Sir, unmute कर दिया उनको.
Okay. I think major queries are resolved. Still, if any queries, please all can give a question to the branch. We'll try to resolve it.
Hello.
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 Yes, sir.
हाँ सर, भाटिया साहब एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था मुझे.
हाँ सर, जितेंद्र जी बोल रहे हैं.
मुझे ये पूछना था कि मैंने 9A फॉर्म फाइल किया था पहले, उसमें कुछ क्लरिकल मिस्टेक हो गई थी.
ठीक है.
और अब उसके बाद में फिर दोबारा भी मैंने करेक्शन कर दोबारा 9A फॉर्म फाइल कर दिया, तो मेरा जो दोबारा 9A फॉर्म फाइल हुआ उसके ऊपर ओरिजिनल लिखा हुआ आ रहा है.
ओके.
तो कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है इसमें?
सर, प्राइमरली व्हाट आई बिलीव दैट अगर मैं ऐसा मान लूं आपके केस में कि आपने जो दोबारा से 9A भरा है, वो आपके ITR से मैच करता है, am I right?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
और वो फॉर्म 10B से भी मैच करता है.
बिल्कुल.
I don't see any problem there. ठीक है. लेकिन सर, मैं गारंटी इसलिए नहीं दे सकता क्योंकि आजकल सारा प्रोसेस ऑटोमेटेड कर दिया CPC में. अब सीपीसी कैसे किस फॉर्म को उठाती है, वो मान लीजिए आपके सेकंड फॉर्म को नहीं कंसिडर करके पहले फॉर्म से ही कनेक्ट करने लग जाए और फिर वो बोले कि नहीं साहब ये तो हम डीम्ड एप्लीकेशन नहीं कंसिडर करेंगे। और सीपीसी इस तरीके के मैटर्स में सर मेरा कहना है कि वहां पर डीम्ड एप्लीकेशन को अगर नहीं आपके कंसिडर करेगी तो वो रेक्टिफिकेशन में भी उसे नहीं मानती, तो फिर असेसी फंस जाता है। फिर हमारे पास में इंटीमेशन पर या रेक्टिफिकेशन के ऑर्डर पर अपील करने के अलावा कोई ऑप्शन बचता नहीं। तो मेरा मानना है सर हो जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि ऐसा हुआ है, अगर आप सबको ध्यान होगा कि सेक्शन 36 सबसेक्शन 1 क्लॉज 5A में एम्प्लॉय कंट्रीब्यूशन के साथ साथ कभी कभी सीए ने गलती से एम्प्लॉयर का कंट्रीब्यूशन को भी रिपोर्ट कर दिया 3CD, और वो डिमांड आ गई उसके ऊपर। बाद में उसने सीए को बोला कि साहब ये क्या हुआ, तो सीए साहब ने अपनी 3CD रिवाइज करी और वो वाला फिगर हटाया जो एम्प्लॉयर का कंट्रीब्यूशन था, तो उसकी जो डिमांड थी फिर रेक्टिफिकेशन लगाने पर रिमूव हुई थी। तो ऐसी डिमांड्स मैंने रिमूव होती देखी है सर। तो हो सकता है कि अभी सीपीसी ने जो ट्रस्टों के फॉर्म्स को आईटीआर से और 10B से लिंक करने में उतनी स्फूर्ति नहीं है उनके पास में, या उतना उन्होंने अभी एनेबलमेंट नहीं किया हो, तो उतना ही टाइम लगना है सर। बाकी ये चीजें होंगी, सही अपने आप होनी चाहिए।
टेक्निकल मिस्टेक्स टू बी टेकन केयर बाय डिपार्टमेंट, सर वो करेगा। रेक्टिफिकेशन इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन।
हेलो।
यस सर।
हेलो।
यस सर, यू आर ऑडिबल, प्लीज।
गुड इवनिंग भाटिया जी। हाँ, I have learned lot of things from your nice deliberation on this trust registration assessment, everything. One point came in my mind always regarding so many temples, so many organizations are unregistered as on date. When they come to us with a huge property, huge amount of immobile property, movable property, how we can start their balance sheet by incorporating all the undeclared assets?
Sir, a very pertinent question, and naturally we as a CA are supposed to give them the solution to this.
Yes.
That if they are not registered under section 12AA, maybe they are registered with Devasthan Vibhag, or maybe even they are not registered there, sir. In the eyes of income tax law, they are not religious institution from the point of view of section 11 and 12. Now, suppose they are not eligible for 11 and 12, it means then they are covered under ITR 5 regime.
Yes.
So either the assessee takes a call that, okay, henceforth, now I will be liable, I should be covered into ITR 7 criteria. So let me get registered.
Okay.
Because law does not restrict us, sir, that previously we are not registered. It does not mean that now I cannot apply.
Okay.
Rather, in my opinion, Shailesh ji, you may agree with me or you may improve me if I'm not. In my opinion, sir, the current regime of making an online application in Form 10A is quite easier as compared to previous one.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Here, when we apply, then prima facie we are getting
We
provisional
are getting the
registration.
registration.
So it means that this is a golden opportunity to bring those particular entities into the umbrella of section 11 and 12, so that going forward we are at least into this thing. Now,
कह सकते हैं ना, जब जागे जब सवेरा।
and sir, one more question, sir, as you are saying that, okay, how to bring those particular assets which they are holding, huge assets which they are holding in their hands, in the balance sheet? Because while we are filing Form 10A, naturally we are supposed to give the details of the preceding 3-year, 2-year, whatever, for the balance sheet. Okay, this is our asset thing. So therein, that art of accounting would be important, which is not answered by the income tax law. Therein, your professional experience would be helpful for the trust to design, okay, which assets could be reported, at which value those should be reported, when they were received, because we follow the concept of historical cost. So these kind of things, in my opinion, should be recorded generally at their historical cost if it is known. If it is not known, then okay, let's recognize them at the fair market value at the time of receipt. So this could be one way, one solution to these kind of problems.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
अशोक सर।
हाँ, नमस्कार भाटिया साहब।
नमस्कार सर, कैसे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक हो। मेरा एक इसमें था 9A और 10 के लिए।
राइट सर।
सर देखिए, बिफोर इशूइंग 10B बाय ऑडिटर, दिस फॉर्म शुड हैव बीन फाइल्ड बाय द असेसी। because
Practical.
there is a strict question. If you read the question,
Right.
this reads whether the trust has exercised the option under clause 2 of explanation to 11(1). सर अगर उसने एक्सरसाइज ऑप्शन ही नहीं किया है, उसने फाइल नहीं किया, तो ऑडिटर अपनी रिपोर्ट कैसे दे रहा है? इसलिए जो अभी आपने बताया फरमाया कि सब वो बाद में उसकी ट्रबल है। सर ट्रबल तो हमारी है, अगर वो फाइल करना भूल गया आपकी रिपोर्ट के बाद में, तो सर ट्रबल तो हमारी, हमने 10 भी गलत दे दी।
सर आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं अशोक सर, मैं आपकी राय से पूर्णतः सहमत हूँ। क्यों? इसलिए क्योंकि हम ही 10B भी फाइल करते हैं
जी जी,
और
हम ही करते हैं 9A भी हम ही फाइल करते हैं।
प्रैक्टिकल बात तो यही है।
हाँ,
है ना? तो इसलिए जब तक मैं अपने प्रोसेस पर कॉन्फिडेंट हूं कि हाँ मेरे से तो ये गलती नहीं होगी, मैं ये सब कर दूंगा, तो मैं इसे आगे पीछे मैनेज कर सकता हूं। और अगर ऐसा नहीं है, आई नो दैट आई एम द ऑडिटर एंड देयर इज अनदर पर्सन हु इज हेल्पिंग देम इन फाइलिंग आईटीआर, देन आई वुड सर्टेनली गो विद योर सजेशन कि भाटिया जी पहले आप 9A ले लो, पहले 10 ले लो, फिर आप अपने 10B में फाइल करो। ठीक है? तो मेरे हिसाब से वो चीज, हालांकि इस सब के करने के बावजूद मान लीजिए मेरे करने के बाद सर फॉर्म 9A 10 में गलती हो गई, यानी उनसे एसएससी ट्रस्ट से नहीं भरी गई या दूसरे कंसल्टेंट ने नहीं भरी, तो अनफॉर्चुनेटली सर इसका भुगतान एसएससी पर आता है। तो अगर आज एक सीए फॉर्म 10B देते समय एसएससी से सुनिश्चित करा रहा है, तो वो तो उसका भला ही कर रहा है।
हाँ बिल्कुल जरूरी है सर, मेरे हिसाब से इंश्योर करना चाहिए।
बिल्कुल सर, यही आपके अनुभव का हम सबको फायदा है।
नहीं मेरे अनुभव, आपका ज्यादा अनुभव मेरा नहीं है।
नहीं सर, ऐसी बात।
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू।
वेलकम सर। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन सर?
अच्छा सर, एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा
सर।
जब पेन अप्लाई किया था 15 साल पहले, जब उसमें फोर्थ लेटर सी आया था,
राइट सर,
और उसके बाद में टेल डले भी मिल गया, एटीजी भी मिल गया, एसेसमेंट भी होते आ रहे हैं 10-15 साल से। इस साल बैंक ने ऑब्जेक्शन किया है कि साहब ये केवाईसी नहीं हो रहा है, इसमें सी आपका टी होना चाहिए। क्या करना पड़ेगा इसके अंदर, कैसे रेक्टिफाई? क्यों ट्रेले भी है, एटीजी सब कुछ, अगर पेन नंबर नया लेते हैं तो सब कैंसिल हो जाते हैं।
शैलेश जी आप इस पे मेरे से अच्छा राय देंगे। मैं सर 1 मिनट में अपनी वो दे देता हूँ यहाँ पर कि मैंने आज तक किसी एसएससी का ऐसे पैन चेंज होते नहीं देखा, पैन करेक्शन में नहीं होते देखा कि पैन का चौथा अल्फाबेट डिपार्टमेंट ने बदल दिया। सर
पैन कोड जो है वो एल्गोरिथम बेस्ड पैन कोड होता है, वो कभी चेंज नहीं होता। अब आपका पैन में सी से टी नहीं आ सकता, आपको नया पैन अप्लाई करना जो सजेशन दिया जा रहा है। मेरा पर्सनल व्यू है, अगर आपका बैंकर खाली ये फोर्स कर रहा है कि उसका केवाईसी सिस्टम प्रॉपर वर्क नहीं कर रहा, तो ये बैंकर सिस्टम डिफॉल्ट है, आपकी डिफॉल्ट नहीं है। बिकॉज मैंने अभी मेरे सेशन में भी कहा था, द ट्रस्ट कैन बी, एनजीओ कैन बी इन द मोड ऑफ ट्रस्ट, सोसाइटी एंड कंपनी। तो कंपनी का पैन नंबर अलॉट करते टाइम, इफ दे हैव अलॉटेड आईटीआर, इफ दे हैव अलॉटेड फोर्थ अल्फाबेट एज ए सी, देयर इज नो ऑब्जेक्शन। When you file your return, I think you are filing regularly your return and you are getting the form 7 properly. 10B is also filed by you, I think. Yes. So there is no issue. Banker have to modify their own system. You just ask them, भैया मेरा ये 10B का सर्टिफिकेट रिटर्न्स जा रहे हैं, ये मेरा टैक्स 12AA का रजिस्ट्रेशन इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट के साथ में, you have to consider it. They will consider it surely.
सर मुझे लगता है कि इस विषय में ना अपन एक सीए का सर्टिफिकेशन और चला जाए, कोई मतलब एक सॉर्ट ऑफ हमारे लेटर पे कुछ लिखा चला जाए, शायद वो मान।
यस, दिस इज ओनली क्लैरिफिकेशन।
पहली बार ये आया इतने साल में, 35 साल की प्रैक्टिस में पहली बार ऐसा प्रॉब्लम आई है।
निकालेंगे सर, आप इसका समाधान भी निकल जाएगा। पर क्या है, बैंक को समझाना फिर भी आसान है, बनस्पत डिपार्टमेंट को समझाने के।
Obvious. They will get it with query reply, वो कुछ भी ले सकते हैं जवाब में, with a certificate, because this KYC system is just restarted right nowadays. वो just due to RBI certifications and RBI data recollections, they are requiring your KYC, re-KYC. You can just explain them, they will modify their system. They are right now working on it. Maybe soon they will come up with this.
आरबीआई द्वारा ऑनलाइन हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते इसके अंदर, वो आरबीआई जो हमारा सॉफ्टवेयर वो एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहा आपका, वो खाते को ब्लॉक कर दिया उन्होंने।
ओहो,
ये टोटली ऑनलाइन सिस्टम प्रोवाइडेड बाय आरबीआई।
Just raise a query and give them a certifications issued by the department.
सर मेरा एक और इसमें निवेदन है सर, आप एक काम और करें सर, क्योंकि वो ये सर्विस बैंकिंग लोकपाल के क्षेत्र में आनी चाहिए। आप बैंकिंग लोकपाल पे भी अपनी ग्रीवेंस जरूर दर्ज करें।
ठीक है, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
ठीक है
पराग सर।
Anoop sir.
हाँ पराग जी नमस्कार।
Sir, 2 queries. One thing is that there is one Section 8 company which has accumulated funds as a corpus funds. now it would not like to continue in the projects for which the funds were being raised. So
Right.
they would like to transfer it to the normal income and expenditure account, which is already in negative.
Okay.
So what would be the consequences and what would be the means?
See, the first question is that, okay, as far as when the trust is not wishing to pursue that particular thing into the specified purpose for which it was accumulated, the answer, Paragji, we will get with reference to the provisions of section 11 subsection 3A. Okay. So 11 subsection 3A will give you the relaxation when it is beyond your control. Then you can go to the AO that, okay, now it is beyond my control to achieve this object, and the AO will allow you to ensure other purpose. That is one. Secondly, suppose you say that I'm not going to the AO for this kind of thing, then you will fall into section 11 subsection 3 because you will suo moto use the funds for other purposes.
Yeah.
If you will do so, that is, you will use the funds for non-specified purpose. Okay. Then in that case, the amount may become taxable. May become taxable means what? That such particular amount would be taxable in this particular year. And you have seen that in Form 10, it is reported that, okay, when we previously accumulated, we used for the specified purpose or we did not. So what will happen? Immediately that amount will be added to the total income of the assessee. Now, if it will get added to the total income of the assessee, the question comes whether the 30% tax rate would apply. In my opinion, amount would be taxable. You can't claim the application in the current year against that particular income. This is my opinion. Shailesh, you may clarify further if I'm wrong. So my opinion, you may not be available to claim the application which you are ensuring with that particular income. That will not go in that particular manner. Otherwise, everybody will start doing like this. I accumulated for X purpose. Then I thought, okay, let's spend on the Y purpose. And I draw the amount from that 11.2 and used it for other charitable purposes. Then this will vitiate the whole purpose of the law. So that amount, even if you will use for charitable religious purpose, in my opinion, would be taxable. So you should be ready to pay the tax. So suppose you say that, okay, even after a slab rate, I'm on an average supposed to pay 25% tax on the same. So you make your books in such a manner that this accumulation which I'm using for other purposes, I'm supposed to pay the tax to the tune of that particular amount, and balance I can then use for charity. That would be my advice.
That's, thank you, sir. And second thing is, sir, that lot of gratuity trust has been incorporated.
Right.
Now the application was made and the PAN card number has been received and the application is lying with the assessing officer. No further action has been taken on this thing, whether approvals and everything has been given. So in this case, what should we do? How do we file the returns actually? Because it's a gratuity trust.
I can understand. See, unless the department denies my particular application of registration, I should be treated to be eligible for claiming that benefit, because usually there is nothing like there will be too much of the displacement to as compared to what the law provides and where I will be being formed as a gratuity trust. So I would say that I will be filing ITR 7 with this particular exemption criteria. However, unfortunately, if law or the form ask me to give my registration detail, that may not be available.
That's right, sir.
So in that case, when I'm not able to give you a solution to that, how would it be possible? So either if the registration number is not available, I can write registration pending.
Okay.
What I can suggest, Shailesh, you tell me.
Yes,
I have no other option.
Applied for.
Applied for लिख दीजिए, and that is how you move ahead. And probably because in the meanwhile the cutoff date was expiring, and if tomorrow department gives me after the expiry of the due date, then I will be left nowhere but to pay the tax liability. CPC goes in that fashion only.
That's right, sir.
So I would say this way, that way, let your ITR be submitted.
Okay, because gratuity trusts are normally made with LIC, so
yes,
means and there's no income accruing on that.
Right, right.
The only thing is that the approvals have not been received from the department. So how do we reflect the same in the ITRs and everything?
So I hope this suggestion may be useful to you.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Welcome. I hope queries have been solved, Shailesh ji, with your grace.
Queries are resolved. बाकी सवाल जवाब चलते रहेंगे. Any queries?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shailesh sir. Thank you, Bhatia sir.
Thank you, Khushbu ji.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to all learned members who have joined this session.
Thank you all.